Science and Technology, Jitendra Singh, will be joining me on this broadcast as we look at the big Chandrayaan 3 mission. Also on the show this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to France.
Peak prestige for Prime Minister in Paris. India shines at Bastille Day Parade. Big fighter and submarine deals afoot. France pins top honor on Modi. Modi's top gear French connect. Vishwaguru, India's moment.
Here's a look at the headlines today. Chandrayaan 3 blasts off to the moon, successfully enters orbit. It will make its lunar landing in 40 days from now.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
Lift-off normal.
Here we have a majestic lift-off of LVM-3 M4 rocket carrying India's prestigious Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft.
Parts of northeast Delhi still submerged. 3 children die after drowning in flood waters. Threat of waterborne diseases looms. Flood politics peaks. AAP alleges conspiracy. Delhi ministers blame Lieutenant Governor Saxena for the mayhem. Ajit Pawar becomes Finance Minister of Maharashtra. 2 ministries from the Shinde camp are given to the Ajit faction. Another setback for DMK leader Senthil Balaji. Madras High Court validates the ED custody, says money laundering is not the only offence in this case. Carrying a billion dreams, India has shot for the moon. ISRO today launched its 3rd lunar mission. The Chandrayaan 3 lifted off at 2:35 p.m. with an orbiter lander and a rover from Sriharikota, which is expected to land on the surface of the moon on the 23rd or the 24th of August. If successful, India will launch an exclusive club of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the moon.
3, 2, 1, 0.
India shoots for the moon, carrying hopes of billions of Indians. Bahubali rocket LVM-3 rocket lifted off with Chandrayaan 3, aiming to land a rover on the moon's surface. The takeoff was picture perfect, every technical milestone achieved.
यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है.
And as Chandrayaan 3 separated from the rocket, scientists and space enthusiasts gathered to witness history and broke into applause.
We are excited, elated by the success of this because it was so much important for us to put it first in the orbit. Without that, there is no further travel to moon possible. So that way, it is really exciting for us.
The spacecraft will take about 2 weeks or more now to enter lunar orbit, aiming to be the first to land near little explored south pole of the moon. The journey is estimated to take more than 40 days, with the spacecraft potentially reaching the moon around August 23rd or 24th.
It was perfect, and all the propulsion stages worked very nicely, and the intended orbit also was achieved, and it was a perfect mission.
If ISRO pulls this mission off successfully, India will join an exclusive list of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the moon: US, former Soviet Union, and most recently, China.
It's a moment of glory for India, also a moment of glory for you and I, all of us who have been part of the history in the making. And while Team ISRO has done the entire country proud, India has reaffirmed its leading role as a global player.
India's second lunar mission was launched in July 2019. but it was only partially successful. Even today, its orbiter continues to circle and study the moon. But the lander rover failed, crash landing during touchdown. Chandrayaan 3 comes 13 years after the first moon mission in 2008. With Pramod Madhav and Nagarjun Dwarkanath in Sriharikota, Bureau Report, India Today.
This is the Chandrayaan in its third avatar. The last time too, the launch was very successful. The landing wasn't. Here's a look at India's journey to the moon.
3, 2, 1.
The clock ticked, and at exactly 2:43 p.m. on 22nd July 2019, India took a giant leap to the moon. For the second time, Indian Space Research Organization created history by the successful launch of Chandrayaan 2.
L110 engine started. अभी अनाउंस किया गया कि L110 जो कि हमारा दूसरा मुख्य रॉकेट है उसका इग्निशन हो गया है, उसके दोनों इंजन प्रज्वलित हो गए हैं.
This was India's second mission to the moon after the successful voyage of Chandrayaan in 2008.
Ignition sequence normal and liftoff normal.
GSLV Mk3 blasted off to space carrying a Land Rover, orbiter and a lander with a speed of 11 kilometers per second from the Satish Dhawan Space Research Centre in Sriharikota.
It is the beginning of a historical journey of India towards moon and to land at a place near South Pole to carry out scientific experiments to explore unexplored.
Within minutes, Chandrayaan 2 was successfully placed into the Earth's orbit. As the space vehicle beamed back a perfect report card, Indian space scientists at Mission Control erupted with joy.
7.4 kilometers and the velocity was nearly 140. So the Vikram lander has successfully completed the rough braking phase.
The mission was expected to take 48 days in total to land its rover Pragyan on the south pole of the moon, roughly on 14th September 2019. But then, on 10th September, days before the final landing on moon, ISRO announced that it had lost contact with lander Vikram. ISRO scientists were disappointed. It was an emotional moment. Chandrayaan 2 suffered various delays and revisions a decade after the successful maiden Indian moon mission Chandrayaan 1. In October 2008, ISRO successfully launched Chandrayaan 1. On 22nd October 2008, Chandrayaan mission with a lunar orbiter and impactor was launched using PSLV XL from Satish Dhawan Space Centre at Sriharikota.
Ignition sequence normal and liftoff normal.
It was a big boost to Indian space exploration history. India researched and developed indigenous technology to explore the moon with Chandrayaan 1. 2 weeks after its launch, it was inserted into lunar orbit on 8th November 2008. On 14th November 2008, the Moon Impact Probe separated from the Chandrayaan orbiter and struck the South Pole in a controlled manner. India became the fourth country to place its flag insignia on the moon, near the crater Shackleton. The location of impact was named Jawahar Point. Though Chandrayaan-1 was planned to survey the lunar surface for 2 years, but after a successful year of transmitting data and detecting presence of lunar water, it stopped communicating on 28 August 2009. 312 days of Chandrayaan-1 was a celebration of ISRO's hard work and indigenous technological advancement in space exploration. Nearly 7 years later, NASA, with a ground-based radar system, relocated Chandrayaan-1 in its lunar orbit. Today, its orbit varies between 150 and 270 kilometers in altitude every 2 years around the moon.
After the failure of Chandrayaan-2, ISRO scientists went back to the drawing board, looked at all their calculations to try and ensure that Chandrayaan-3 is a grand success. We look at how things have changed, how the program has evolved, and how ISRO thinks this time this rover is set for success.
Chandrayaan-3 is going to be the world's first mission to soft land near the lunar South Pole. It would take roughly 42 days for the lander and rover to reach the moon and attempt a soft landing. Last time in 2019, Chandrayaan-2 crash-landed on the lunar surface. It was a partial failure and it triggered a very innovative method adopted by the Indian Space Research Organization for the follow-up mission, Chandrayaan-3. Chandrayaan-3 is similar to Chandrayaan-2 and yet very different. Chandrayaan-3 lander and rover will attempt to land at the exact same spot attempted by its predecessor in September 2019. But unlike a combination of orbiter, lander and rover, Chandrayaan-3 will have only the lander and rover, but no orbiter. Instead, it will use the orbiter of Chandrayaan-2, which is still operational and has been sending valuable data from its 9 in situ instruments. The propulsion module of the Chandrayaan-3 mission will have just a single instrument named Spectropolarimetry of Habitable Planet Earth, which will analyze the spectrum of Earth to generate data for habitable planets. Another addition to the Chandrayaan-3 mission is the Laser Retroreflector Array or LRA. It is being sent with the lander. LRA would be a passive experiment to understand the dynamics of the moon system. The other 3 payloads being launched with the mission are the same as that of the Vikram lander on Chandrayaan-2.
See, there is certain conditions in which it is supposed to work. And the conditions in which work has a window. If anything happens beyond the window, it may work, it may not work. So what we did this time is the window is expanded. Its ability to land at a higher speeds. Its ability to work within this much quantity of propellant is enhanced. We say this much is the power capability, we expanded. How about rovers? Rover, we have not made any change this time. It is exactly the same rover.
To achieve its objectives, Chandrayaan-3 has lander hazard detection and avoidance cameras that will be used to coordinate with the orbiter and the mission control as the lander makes its descent approach to the surface of the moon. Chandrayaan-2 has just one such camera. Chandrayaan-3 has been fitted with 2 such cameras.
So we addressed all such failure modes and we built a more rigorous hardening of many systems, including its ability to land at a higher speed, more propellant to handle, more power generation capability, more disorientation capability, more ability to handle rotations, and we added additional sensors and sensor failures we addressed. So, and we did all these test in simulation modes and made sure that all our thinking process algorithms do work under extreme conditions.
All previous spacecraft to have landed on the moon have landed in the equatorial region. Whether it's US or Russia, they all landed a few degrees latitude north or south of the lunar equator. The furthest that any spacecraft has gone from the equator was Surveyor 7, launched by NASA, which made a moon landing way back on January 10, 1968. This spacecraft landed near 40 degrees south latitude. A successful Chandrayaan 3 will not only elevate India into the elite group of lunar explorers as the fourth country to do so, but it would also mark India's expertise to do so at the most tough circumstances and in virgin lunar territory.
In a moment from now, I'm going to take you live to Chennai, where the man leading the ministry in charge of space and technology, Dr. Jitendra Singh, will be joining us live to talk about this mission. He was at the Sriharikota Launch Centre when Chandrayaan 3 took off. But before that, I want to spend a moment on the history of India's space research. Aryabhat, the first known Indian astronomer and the inventor of zero, had for the first time explained the solar and lunar eclipses. India today is one of the elite space explorers. Here's a report from the India Today archives on this country's space mission.
Modern space research started in India in the 1920s, but it would take decades before the institutionalized probe into space-related activities would gain nationwide attention. The first milestone in Indian space exploration was the establishment of the Indian National Committee for Space Research, or INCOSPAR, by then Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, along with scientist Vikram Sarabhai in the year 1962.
ISRO started, as you know, with the vision of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, and he thought this vantage point of space could have a very, very interesting use for this country. So he thought that we should build this capability, because India is a developing country at that time, 1960s, I am talking of early 60s, and obviously our developmental needs were very different from the United States and the then Soviet Union.
Tumba in those days used to be a tiny village on the outskirts of Thiruvananthapuram in Kerala. But Tumba was different from other fishing villages in the area.
Then he found that there is this Tumba equatorial region, which is a geomagnetic equator which passes over that land, and because of that there are some very interesting physical phenomena in the atmosphere and ionosphere above. So he thought, as a first step, let us explore this with rockets.
It was very close to the Earth's magnetic equator, and so Vikram Sarabhai met the local bishop, Reverend Peter Bernard Pereira, to set up his dream space research center in the village. The fishing community in Tumba was primarily Christian, and the Reverend offered the church for the sake of science. Thus began space research of modern India at St. Mary Magdalene Church, which was rechristened as Tumba Equatorial Rocket Launch Station, or TERLS. The prayer room of the church became the laboratory of APJ Abdul Kalam. It was later named the Vikram Sarabhai Space Centre.
Vikram Sarabhai telling people after a few years, okay, India has to develop a capability to launch satellites. Why? Because using the satellites, India can leapfrog in terms of development in the field of education, communication, and telemedicine, etc., etc. In other words, you don't have to build the ground infrastructure which other nations built, and then when the satellite came, they had to change everything. Whereas we have almost a virgin land where we can straight away go to the higher technology. So he sold the idea of satellite development and satellite launching for the purpose of national development.
INCOSPAR launched India's first rocket in 1963 from Tumba. By the end of the 60s, INCOSPAR grew to become the Indian Space Research Organization, or ISRO. Around the same time, the Government of India formed the Space Commission for Policy Formulation. Research and execution of space-related enterprises got a boost in the country. ISRO improvised and developed technology, launching several indigenously created vehicles into space. From the modest start of launching Aryabhatta, the first Indian satellite using a Russian rocket in 1975, India has certainly come a long way. Aryabhatta provided India with the basis of learning satellite technology and design. Same year, ISRO along with NASA developed means of using space communication system for TV broadcasting that was acronymed as SITE, or the Satellite Instructional Television Experiment. The one-year program covering Indian villages and districts was to experiment usage of satellite broadcasting for mass education. For the next 2 years, 1976 and 77, ISRO launched Satellite Telecommunication Experiments Project, or the STEP, as a sequel to SITE. It used satellite technology to enhance domestic communication. As the 1970s wound up, ISRO was emboldened to create the first indigenous satellite vehicle that was launched from Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh in 1980. SLV-3 successfully placed the Rohini satellite, or the RS-1, in orbit, making India only the 6th member of an exclusive club of spacefaring nations. But it was time for ISRO to move a step forward with its satellite broadcast program. Having experimented with SITE and STEP, the Indian National Satellite System, or the INSAT, was commissioned in 1983 to work on broadcasting, telecommunication, meteorology, and rescue operations. Over the next few decades, ISRO successfully propelled a number of INSAT satellites into space, making it the largest domestic communication system in the Asia-Pacific region. It was time for an attempt to make manned mission to space. The first Indo-Soviet manned space mission was launched in 1984. Air Force test pilots Rakesh Sharma and Ravish Malhotra went through rigorous trainings for almost 2 years in the Soviet Union. Finally, Rakesh Sharma was chosen to be the first Indian to go up into space.
I want to go across now, live and exclusive to Chennai. Joining us from there is the Minister of State with independent charge for Science and Technology, Minister of State in the Prime Minister's office, in charge also of atomic energy and space research. Dr. Jitendra Singh was with the team at ISRO at the launch center. He's just come back from Chennai, and I must tell our viewers this. I just discovered that Dr. Jitendra Singh speaks chaste Tamil. I didn't know that. He's a man from Jammu and Kashmir. For him to speak Tamil the way that I just discovered he does is quite incredible. You're a man of many talents. Dr. Jitendra Singh, welcome. You were at the Sriharikota Centre when the launch was taking place, Satish Dhawan Space Centre. Explain the sentiment, the emotions that you witnessed when this launch happened, sir.
Thank you, Rahul, for at the outset for having got me over here. As you said, I'm just back from Sriharikota. As you would have witnessed, there is a huge lot of enthusiasm across the country, and even at Sriharikota, I think for the first time, the Satish Dhawan Space Centre was a witness to such a huge crowd of people from all sections of society. There were students, there were youth, there were academicians, scientific fraternity, of course, both the superannuated, the working ones, and most of all the media persons. We had at least as many as about 1,000 media persons, and I think this is a territory which was in a way forbidden for media. So I think that was the first time the gates of Satish Dhawan Space Centre were thrown open for such a huge media presence. I remember the times when even a launching would get covered in the days of print media after 2 days. And that too, if a failure had happened, if it had gone smoothly, it wouldn't even invite media attention. But now, I think that is now the change. The ecosystem which has been developed in the last 3-4 years after Prime Minister Modi took a very path-breaking decision, breaking the taboos of the past to allow private participation and to allow other stakeholders to partner with ISRO. So even in today's mission, for example, we had the participation of the industry. So there you could see the academia, you could see the industry, you could see startups, you could see the media, and I think that media, in fact, has also become a part of the entire exercise behind the mission. So that kind of enthusiasm cutting across the sections of society shows the involvement of the people as a whole, the nation as a whole, and also they were owning it up as something which was a matter of great pride to them, and possibly also feeling a sense of supremacy being gained by India, which was till a few years ago looked at as a country which had nothing much to do with these new progressive areas like space technology or even climate change.
There's a lot of emotion attached to Chandrayaan 3, especially on the back of what happened, unfortunately, with Chandrayaan 2. You were speaking to all the scientists at ISRO. How confident are they that enough changes have been made in the manner in which this shuttle will operate to ensure that the soft landing on the 23rd, 24th of August completes the unfinished mission of Chandrayaan 2?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that, Rahul. I was just to add to what I was saying right now. The enthusiasm was so infectious that even the commoners were going to offer prayers before entering into that gallery. So that was the... Anyway, having said that, now as far as Chandrayaan 3 is concerned, vis-a-vis Chandrayaan 2, I would not precisely, as someone from the scientific fraternity, describe Chandrayaan 2 as a failure, in the sense that there's hardly been any country in the world which has had a successful landing in the very first attempt. Most of them have had a second attempt or even third attempt. So from that point of view, India's statistical record is much better. And having said that, the Chandrayaan 2, the rover is there. It has been sending us some findings. We have gathered inputs, inferences from that. The only thing is that the agenda which we had envisaged, it could not be accomplished in totality. So yes, but at the same time, as you rightly mentioned, learning from that experience, certain modifications had been made, which of course we do even otherwise. Even after a successful mission, we try to go to the next level, learning from the experience of the earlier mission. Sometimes, it occurs to the mind that, look here, this could have been done this way, it didn't happen that way. Like, you direct a movie after having directed the earlier one. So that part, now here we have not only made up for the buffer, we have created a buffer cushion against what had happened last time, but also that we just have a propulsion module and a lander module. So that component is now not going to be there. So that is also going to make this exercise slightly different. The area of landing has also been increased, and more significantly, this is going to land in the southern polar area, south polar area, which is relatively a virgin area as far as the explorations are concerned, even by the other countries. So, which means that the inputs that would be gathered by Chandrayaan 3 would be of great utility even to the other countries.
Give our viewers a sense, Dr. Jitendra Singh, of the kind of scientific takeaways from this mission, because it's not just the act of getting the rover to the moon and the soft landing, but there's a lot of serious science and research involved. Give our viewers a full sense of what do you hope Chandrayaan 3 will tell us and teach us about the moon?
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. Rahul, the Chandrayaan series in itself has placed India apart from other countries, even though we may have landed. Some of the other countries had landed on the surface of the moon much before us, but it was Chandrayaan 1 which brought the evidence of the presence of water on the surface of moon. So that itself was a breakthrough, huge breakthrough for all the other nations which were already into it, whether that be the USA or the then USSR, because the presence of water indicates the possibility of a human habitat happening sometime later in the future, because the H2O component, oxygen component of that. And this time, this is going to be an extension of that experiment on the one hand, because the south polar area has varied craters over there, craters which contain water, because earlier on Chandrayaan 1 picked up evidence of H2O molecules, water molecules. Now we hope that this area which has been selected for landing would have more quantitatively more amount of water to experiment with, to gather inputs with. At the same time, there will be in situ experiments as well on the surrounding surface of the moon, and the possibility of human habitat being viable or not could be, I think, explored to the next level from where it was earlier. And that also makes the Chandrayaan series different from other countries, because they were not into this. And that's why I said the inputs which are expected from this mission are being very eagerly awaited even by the USA and the other countries which are already into it.
As Minister, what's your next priority? Of course, 23rd, 24th August, very important days in terms of the landing, and many phases between now and then. But what's the next big idea? What's the next thing that's got you and scientists at ISRO really excited?
Yeah, actually, in a mission like this now, since I've been associated for a number of years, each day is significant, because in the common parlays, what goes out is the milestone event or the milestone destination, like, for example, the landing of it. But in between, in the course of this journey of 42 days, there are a number of other, sensitive occasions which have to be very carefully followed up, attended to. Like, for example, today it has gone out of the orbit of the Earth. Now what we would now look for is how smoothly it enters into the orbit of the Moon. So from the team which is following it or working on it, I think a number of other destinations happen before the final destination of landing happens, which of course is the ultimate.
Okay, you've had a long and rough ride all the way back. We literally requested you to sit down the moment you came back to Chennai, so I won't hold you back any longer. Congratulations on a successful launch, and as you said, there's a prayer on every lip as we look forward to 23rd, 24th August. Everybody will be anxious before that, but God willing, Sare Jahan Se Acha and the lunar probe will land successfully.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you. So that was the Minister straight out of the car and joining us in this live broadcast. I want to shift our attention now to the Bastille Day celebrations in France. The Prime Minister was the guest of honor at the French Bastille Day celebrations, and 269-member Indian Tri-Service contingent proudly marched on the streets of Paris as Sare Jahan Se Acha rang through the air. This was India's moment in France.
The resounding beats of pipes and drums. India's Tri-Services marched down the famous three-lined Champs-Élysées in Paris. France extends one of its most spectacular recognitions to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the guest of honor on the Bastille Day parade, an annual event that symbolically marks the birth of the modern French Republic back in 1789. The Prime Minister and the host, President Emmanuel Macron, watch Indian and French soldiers marching alongside in disciplined footsteps. India's 269-member Tri-Services contingent in all its splendor. Their steps echoing a centuries-old legacy, transcending borders and cultures. India's patriotism resonates through the French air. Bands played out the iconic Sare Jahan Se Achha tune. Prime Minister Modi took the salute. The hosts applauded the visual symphony of synchronized marching and captivating music. The Indian Army contingent, comprising of 77 personnel and 38 members of the band led by Captain Aman Jagtap. Commander Vrat Bhagel led the Indian Navy contingent. They move ahead with measured strides. Here comes the Indian Air Force contingent, led by squadron leader Sindhu Reddy. A rhythmic cadence flows out of their steps, a masterpiece of military precision. Dressed in their resplendent uniforms, adorned with medals and insignia, India's tri-services displayed their timeless elegance of tradition, seamlessly blending with the spirit of modernity in Europe's oldest and largest military parade. India's French-made Rafale jets soared in the French skies above. A stunning flypast over the Arc de Triomphe.
भारत फ्रांस की स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप के 25 साल के उत्सव का इससे बेहतर तरीका और क्या हो सकता है?
The two countries commemorate 25 years of their strategic partnership. A moment of profound significance, a moment of strengthened camaraderie. With Gaurav Sawant in Paris, Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining us live on the NewsTrack at this moment, Rakesh Sood, former Indian ambassador to France. Air Marshal Anil Chopra has been in the Air Force, understands French weapon systems, Director General currently at the Centre for Air Power Studies. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha has been Flag Officer Commanding in Chief of the Western Naval Command. I want to start by apologizing to my guests for getting late and coming to them. The Minister got held up in traffic right outside the hotel, and we started the interview with Dr. Jitendra Singh a lot later than we were originally expecting. So my profuse apologies before I begin. I want to go across to Ambassador Rakesh Sood first. You've seen the India-French relationship over the years. This is India's most reliable, oldest strategic partner in Europe. In terms of taking that relationship forward, Ambassador, and in terms of the announcements that have been made on the Scorpene submarine, on the purchase of the Rafale naval jets, how significant is this visit in comparison with the Prime Minister's recent visit to the US? When you look at what happened in Washington with what's happening in Paris, how do the two compare?
Well, I think first of all, let me tell you, as Prime Minister Modi just announced, that this is 25 years of India-France strategic partnership. France was the first country with which we established a strategic partnership in 1998. Now, since that time, we have seen a gradual development, a progression in India-France strategic partnership. When it began, there were three pillars: defense, nuclear, and space. Gradually, other pillars were added. Counterterrorism was added. Intelligence sharing was added. Then smart cities and urbanization was added. Then economic investment was added. So, it is a very full agenda. And there are about 40 bilateral dialogues every year between India and France. The other difference, and I know, given the fact that the France visit is coming just after the US visit, there are bound to be comparisons. But I would say that with US, we have had ups and downs. Although in recent years, we have seen a consistency a bipolitical consensus in Washington on developing relations, but it is driven a lot by China. With France, we have not seen that factor play a role. With France, there is an ideological convergence. The ideological convergence comes from the fact that both India and France look to a multipolar world. And therein lies the difference.
That's an important point. America has pushed back, raised concerns. With France, it's been an upward trajectory for the past 25 years. I want to go across to Air Marshal Anil Chopra on the question of why the Air Force has preferred the naval variant of the Rafale to the F-18 Super Hornet. I mean, if I do a tech comparison of the F-18 with the Rafale naval variant, it seems that the F-18 has the edge, yet we've chosen the Rafale. Explain, as someone who's so passionate about French fighter jets, why you think the Rafale naval jet is actually the right choice for India, sir.
Rahul, it is a day of double delight for aerospace. There is a saying that one who controls...
Just stay with us. I want to tell our viewers that these are live pictures of the Prime Minister now at the French President's residence. Please go on, sir. We're seeing these live pictures. There'll be a media briefing in a short while from now as well. So I just want to tell our viewers that these are live images from Paris, where, and I just remember similar visuals from Washington when Prime Minister Modi met President Biden. But go on, sir. Complete your argument.
Yeah, so what I was saying is that, Rahul, it's a day of double delight for air and space. We had a great space launch, Chandrayaan 3, and we had the Rafales flying during the fly past. We have had an air and space connection with France for a very long time. We use their launch sites for putting our rockets into space. But especially for Rafale, I must tell you that our experience with Rafale, firstly, it had been selected out of 6 aircraft after a grueling competition. And finally, when we bought 36 of them, the plan was to make them in India. But thereafter, the Navy started their process between F-18 and the Rafale, and I'm so happy that finally the Navy has chosen the Rafale. There are big advantages. We already have 36 aircraft. We have operational experience. We have got 2 air bases. They can take on more aircraft. If we have decided now that the Navy is going to have Rafale M, which is a very good aircraft, it's later than it has come later than the F-18. As far as the production timeline is concerned, so it is a better aircraft. And I personally feel today that if we have chosen to buy these 26 aircraft for the Indian Navy, it would be a good idea. After all, we have been talking of Make in India. Maybe it will be a good idea to buy some more for the Air Force, which is falling short of numbers. Instead of going through the 114 aircraft, grueling selection process once again, and make them in India with a larger order for the Air Force, and of course, even later on, the Indian Navy may have a large order.
As a champion pilot who's flown the Mirage, you're clearly, your heart's beating for those French jets, and I can see that. Marshal, I want to go across to Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha on India buying more Scorpene nuclear submarines in the context of China's rapid upgradation of its naval fleet, particularly submarines. China assisting Pakistan in upgrading its naval fleet. Do you think we're doing enough? And also explain the whole aspect of transfer of technology and how that could potentially help India, not close, but to the extent possible, bridge the gap with Beijing.
Well, thank you, Rahul, for getting me on your show. As you know that MTL was already making the Scorpene in Mumbai in collaboration, or rather in licensed production with the DCNS, the Scorpene manufacturer. That line has got complete. The last submarine is doing the sea trials, and by end of this year, it should be joining the submarine fleet. And therefore, it was the Navy had proposed that let's not lose the skills of manufacturing the submarine, because the line is already there and fixtures are around. It is better to add the number of submarines, so that the total numbers are a lot of them are getting decommissioned because of age, and we will fall short. And therefore, it's a very good decision to take. that let's buy 3, or rather being manufactured here, will be built here. The good point is that the Air Independent Propulsion System, the AIP, manufactured by the DRDO, which has already done the trials on platforms, that will be fitted into these submarines. Earlier, the French company was sort of...
Okay, I just want to tell our viewers, Vice Admiral, that the French President is speaking live at this time. The Indian Prime Minister is there, the media briefing. Gaurav Sawant is there as well. So I just want to cut across to what's happening at the President's residence.
Des fronts de la Grande Guerre. Et je veux vous dire l'émotion qui fut la nôtre ce matin et la grande fierté de revoir ce régiment de Pendjab. Et je l'imagine aussi cet écho en Inde. Nous allons aujourd'hui continuer à renforcer cette relation de confiance historique entre nos deux pays pour faire face à la fois aux crises internationales comme aux grands enjeux mondiaux. Je pense que nous partageons une préoccupation commune d'un risque de fragmentation de la communauté internationale, en particulier dans le contexte de la guerre menée
समाधान ढूंढ सकते हैं और जो G20 के शिखर वार्ता में उसकी कार्यसूची में होंगे। हम चाहते हैं कि जो अंतर्राष्ट्रीय समुदाय है उसका खंडन के जोखिम से अपनी दुनिया को बचाए और इसलिए हमने पेरिस एजेंडा और नया वित्तीय वैश्विक कॉम्पैक्ट पर इकट्ठे काम किया है। हम अपने सितंबर में जो दुनिया के राष्ट्राध्यक्ष होंगे, जो हेड्स ऑफ स्टेट और गवर्नमेंट होंगे, उनको आमंत्रित किया है और हम सब चाहते हैं कि एक ऐसे अंतर्राष्ट्रीय व्यवस्था का स्थापना हो जो शांति और विकास की ओर हमें ले जाए। मुझे बहुत गर्व हुआ था जब 2018 में मैंने आपके साथ अंतर्राष्ट्रीय सौर गठबंधन की स्थापना की थी और हम चाहते हैं कि बिजली का उत्पादन 2030 तक 1000 गीगावाट का हो और हमने आपके पिछले जो यात्रा थी उसके दौरान भी हमने एक नया पहल शुरू किया था प्लास्टिक से संघर्ष का। तो ये जो दो उदाहरण हैं वो दर्शाते हैं कि हम अगर इकट्ठे काम करें तो हम सारे क्षेत्रों में संरचना नई संरचना बना सकते हैं, न सिर्फ जहां युद्ध से बचने के लिए। पर G20, COP28 और जो संयुक्त राष्ट्र के समुद्र पर सम्मेलन होने जा रहा है नीस में 2025 में, उसका आयोजन भी हम इकट्ठे कर सकते हैं। तो हमारे जो सामरिक हित हैं वो उसका अभिसरण हम इंडो पैसिफिक तक जाता है क्योंकि हमारे एक ही दृष्टिकोण है इसके बारे में। हम आधिपत्य से लड़ना चाहते हैं। हम हमारे सशस्त्र बल नियमित बातचीत कर रहे हैं और पूरी योगदान कर रहे हैं ताकि जो शांति है और सुरक्षा है इस क्षेत्र में बनाई रहे और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय कानून का सम्मान रहे। ये जो सामरिक आत्मीयता है हमारे दोनों देशों के बीच में वो ठोस रूप ले रही है नए योजनाओं के साथ, खासकर जो आर्थिक योजनाएं हम इकट्ठे कर रहे हैं। भारत आज दूसरे सबसे बड़ा हमारा साझेदार है एशिया में। हमने नए कार्य क्षेत्र ढूंढे हैं जैसे कि स्टील, अंतरिक्ष, ऊर्जा, सिविल न्यूक्लियर और टेक्नोलॉजी। ये जो नया स्थिति है जिसकी ओर हम अपनी द्विपक्ष साझेदारी को ले जा रहे हैं वो सिर्फ उन महिलाओं और पुरुषों की वजह से बना पाएंगे जो रोजाना इन संबंधों को जीते हैं, और उनमें से कई सारे आज रात के डिनर पर हमारे साथ आएंगे। और फिर हम युवा पीढ़ी को नहीं भूल सकते, क्योंकि भारत और फ्रांस में युवा ही आगे भविष्य की फ्रांस की छवि भारत में और भारत की छवि फ्रांस में उसको नया रुख देगी और उसको पुनर्निर्मित करेगी। 2025 में हमने सोचा था कि 20,000 फ्रांस के स्टूडेंट्स भारत तक पहुंचाएंगे, और कोविड के बावजूद हम इस लक्ष्य को पा पाए हैं। और हम समझते हैं कि यहां से 2030 तक 30,000 ऐसे स्टूडेंट्स को भेजेंगे, और हमारे प्रयास इसकी ओर जाएंगे। और हम चाहते हैं कि जो युवा भारतीय फ्रांस में पढ़ने के निर्णय लेते हैं, उनको आगे भी वहाँ अपने दिल के करीबी देश के में आने का मौका दिया जाना चाहिए। इसलिए हम अपना वीजा की नीति भी उसके अनुकूल बनाएंगे, ताकि वो ये कड़ी बनाए रखे। हम चाहते हैं कि जो कोऑपरेशन शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में हो रहा है, वो संस्कृति के क्षेत्र में भी बढ़ाएं, ताकि संगीत, डांस और बाकी जो सांस्कृतिक क्षेत्र हैं उसमें भी साझा काम कर पाएं। और हम संग्रहालय विशेषज्ञता को साझा करना चाहते हैं, क्योंकि हमारे पास ये विशेषज्ञता है, क्योंकि 2047 में आप अपने शताब्दी महोत्सव मनाएंगे। और इसके लिए हमने एक मानचित्र बनाया है। एक बार फिर आपको धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा कि आप हमारे साथ यहाँ पर फ्रांस में आए इस खास दिन के लिए। और जो 14 जुलाई की जो परेड है, उसमें आपके जो आर्म्ड फोर्सेस जिन्होंने भाग लिया है, उनको भी धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा।
योर एक्सेलेंसी और मेरे प्रिय मित्र राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो, दोनों देशों के डेलीगेट्स, मीडिया के साथियों, नमस्कार। पेरिस जैसे खूबसूरत शहर में इस गर्मजोशी भरे स्वागत के लिए मैं राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो का आभार प्रकट करता हूं। फ्रांस के लोगों को राष्ट्रीय दिवस के लिए बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं भी देता हूं। यह दिवस विश्व में लिबर्टी, इक्वालिटी और फ्रेटर्निटी जैसे मूल्यों का प्रतीक माना जाता है। ये मूल्य हमारे दो लोकतांत्रिक देशों के संबंधों का भी एक महत्वपूर्ण आधार है। आज मुझे इस उत्सव में मुख्य अतिथि के रूप में शामिल होने का गौरव मिला। मुझे खुशी है कि इस अवसर की शोभा और गरिमा बढ़ाने के लिए भारत की तीनों सेनाओं की टुकड़ियों ने भाग लिया। भारतीय राफेल एयरक्राफ्ट का फ्लाई पास भी हम सब ने देखा। हमारी नौसेना का जहाज भी फ्रांस के पोर्ट पर मौजूद था, यानी जल, थल, नभ। हमारे बढ़ते सहयोग की एक शानदार तस्वीर हमें एक साथ देखने को मिली। कल राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो ने मुझे फ्रांस के सर्वश्रेष्ठ राष्ट्रीय पुरस्कार से सम्मानित किया। यह सम्मान 140 करोड़ भारतवासियों का सम्मान है। फ्रेंड्स, हम अपनी स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप की 25वीं वर्षगांठ मना रहे हैं। बीते 25 वर्षों के मजबूत आधार पर हम आने वाले 25 वर्षों के लिए रोड मैप तैयार कर रहे हैं। इसमें बोल्ड और महत्वाकांक्षी लक्ष्य निर्धारित किए जा रहे हैं। भारत के लोगों ने भी इस कालखंड में एक विकसित देश बनाने का संकल्प लिया है। इस यात्रा में हम फ्रांस को एक नेचुरल पार्टनर के रूप में देखते हैं। 2 दिनों में हमें आपसी सहयोग के सभी क्षेत्रों पर विस्तार से बात करने का अवसर मिल रहा है। आर्थिक संबंधों को और सुदृढ़ करना हमारी साझा प्राथमिकता है। रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, सेमीकंडक्टर्स, साइबर, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी जैसे अनेक क्षेत्रों में सहयोग बढ़ाने के लिए हम नए इनिशिएटिव्स की पहचान कर रहे हैं। भारत के यूपीआई यानी यूनिफाइड पेमेंट्स इंटरफेस को फ्रांस में लॉन्च करने पर समझौता हुआ है। हम दोनों देशों के स्टार्टअप और इनोवेशन इकोसिस्टम को आपस में जोड़ने पर बल दे रहे हैं। समान विचारधारा वाले देशों के साथ मिलकर हमें टेक्नोलॉजी सप्लाई चेन्स के लोकतांत्रिकरण के लिए लगातार काम करना चाहिए। क्लाइमेट चेंज और पर्यावरण सुरक्षा हमारी साझा और मुख्य प्राथमिकता रही है। इस दिशा में हमने पहले ही इंटरनेशनल सोलर अलायंस स्थापित किया था, जो अब एक मूवमेंट बन गया है। अब हम ब्लू इकोनॉमी और ओशन गवर्नेंस के रोडमैप पर तेजी से काम करना चाहते हैं। सिंगल यूज प्लास्टिक के खिलाफ हम एक साझा पहल पर आगे बढ़ेंगे। इंडियन ऑयल और फ्रांस की टोटल कंपनी में एलएनजी के निर्यात के लिए जो लॉन्ग टर्म एग्रीमेंट हुआ है, मैं उसका स्वागत है। इससे हमारे क्लीन एनर्जी ट्रांजिशन के लक्ष्यों को बल मिलेगा। अब से कुछ देर बाद हम भारत फ्रांस सीईओज फोरम में भी हिस्सा लेने वाले हैं। दोनों देशों के बिजनेस प्रतिनिधियों के साथ आर्थिक सहयोग मजबूत करने पर विस्तार से चर्चा होगी। फ्रेंड्स, रक्षा सहयोग हमारे संबंधों का एक मूलभूत स्तंभ रहा है। यह दोनों देशों के बीच गहरे आपसी विश्वास का प्रतीक है। मेक इन इंडिया और आत्मनिर्भर भारत, इसमें फ्रांस एक अहम पार्टनर है। आज हम रक्षा के क्षेत्र में भारत में नई टेक्नोलॉजी के को प्रोडक्शन और को डेवलपमेंट पर बात करेंगे। सबमरीन हो या फिर नौसेना के जहाज, हम चाहते हैं कि मिलकर केवल अपनी ही नहीं, तीसरे मित्र देशों की जरूरतों को भी पूरा करने के लिए हम काम करें। हमारी डिफेंस स्पेस एजेंसीज के बीच सहयोग बढ़ाने की संभावनाएं हैं। फ्रांस की कंपनियों द्वारा एमआरओ फैसिलिटीज, स्पेयर पार्ट्स, हेलीकॉप्टर के लिए इंजन का प्रोडक्शन भी भारत में किए जाने पर हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। हम इसमें हमारे सहयोग को और सशक्त करने पर बल देंगे। सिविल न्यूक्लियर क्षेत्र में सहयोग को आगे बढ़ाते हुए हम स्मॉल एंड एडवांस मॉड्यूलर रिएक्टर्स में सहयोग की संभावना पर चर्चा करेंगे। आज भारत में चंद्रयान के सफल लॉन्च पर पूरा भारत उत्साहित है। यह हमारे वैज्ञानिकों की बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है। अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में भारत और फ्रांस का पुराना और गहरा सहयोग है। हमारी स्पेस एजेंसीज के बीच नए समझौते हुए हैं। इसमें सैटेलाइट लॉन्च सर्विसेज, समुद्र और धरती के तापमान और वातावरण को मॉनिटर करने के लिए तृष्णा सैटेलाइट बनाने का काम शामिल है। स्पेस बेस्ड मैरीटाइम डोमेन अवेयरनेस जैसे क्षेत्रों में भी हम अपना सहयोग बढ़ा सकते हैं। फ्रेंड्स, भारत और फ्रांस के बीच लंबे समय से गहरे पीपल टू पीपल कांटेक्ट रहे हैं। हमारी आज की चर्चाओं से ये संबंध और मजबूत होंगे। हम फ्रांस के दक्षिण में मार्शे शहर में नया भारतीय कॉन्सुलेट खोलेंगे। फ्रांस में पढ़े हुए भारतीय मूल के लोगों के लिए लॉन्ग टर्म वीजा देने के निर्णय का हम स्वागत करते हैं। हम फ्रांस के विश्वविद्यालयों को भारत में अपने कैंपस स्थापित करने के लिए आमंत्रित करते हैं। दिल्ली में बनाए जाने वाले नए राष्ट्रीय म्यूजियम में फ्रांस एक पार्टनर के रूप में जुड़ रहा है। अगले वर्ष पेरिस में होने वाले ओलंपिक्स के लिए सभी भारतीय एथलीट्स बहुत ही उत्सुक हैं। इसके सफल आयोजन के लिए मैं राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो और उनकी पूरी टीम को शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। फ्रेंड्स, आज हम कई महत्वपूर्ण क्षेत्रीय और वैश्विक मुद्दों पर भी चर्चा करेंगे। इंडो पैसिफिक के रेसिडेंट पावर्स के रूप में इस क्षेत्र में शांति और स्थिरता के लिए भारत और फ्रांस की विशेष जिम्मेदारी है। हमारे सहयोग को एक रचनात्मक स्वरूप देने के लिए हम इंडो पैसिफिक कोऑपरेशन रोडमैप पर काम कर रहे हैं। इंडो पैसिफिक ट्रायंगुलर डेवलपमेंट कोऑपरेशन फंड के प्रस्ताव पर भी दोनों पक्ष में चर्चा में है। इससे पूरे क्षेत्र में स्टार्टअप्स और इनोवेशन को बढ़ावा देने के नए अवसर खुलेंगे। भारत के इंडो पैसिफिक ओशन इनिशिएटिव्स में फ्रांस द्वारा मैरीटाइम रिसोर्स पिलर को लीड करने के निर्णय का हम स्वागत करते हैं। फ्रेंड्स, कोविड महामारी और यूक्रेन संघर्ष के प्रभाव पूरे विश्व पर पड़े हैं। ग्लोबल साउथ के देशों पर इनका विशेष रूप से नकारात्मक प्रभाव पड़ा है। यह चिंता का विषय है। इन समस्याओं के समाधान के लिए सभी देशों का एकजुट होकर प्रयास करना आवश्यक है। हमारा मानना है कि सभी विवादों का समाधान डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी के माध्यम से होना चाहिए। भारत स्थायी शांति की बहाली में योगदान देने के लिए तैयार है। आतंकवाद के विरुद्ध लड़ाई में भारत और फ्रांस हमेशा साथ रहे हैं। हम मानते हैं कि क्रॉस बॉर्डर टेररिज्म को समाप्त करने के लिए ठोस कार्रवाई की आवश्यकता है। इस दिशा में सहयोग बढ़ाने पर दोनों देश सहमत हैं। राष्ट्रपति मैक्रो इस वर्ष G20 समिट के दौरान आपका भारत में स्वागत करने के लिए मैं और सभी भारतवासी बहुत ही उत्सुक हैं। एक बार फिर आपकी मित्रता और मुझे दिए गए आदर सत्कार के लिए मैं आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं।
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist.
Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series. Stay wild at heart.
Co-powered by Watcho OTT Super App. One hai to done hai.
Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn.
Co-powered by Sera. This is your space. Play it your way.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today. Plenty to talk about tonight, this Friday night. The big story, the Delhi floods have now led to a war of words. We'll tell you more on that. Also, as you saw just now, Prime Minister Modi and French President Macron's handshake. What does that mean? Indo-French bye-bye and of course, the Chandrayaan takeoff. But first, as always, it's time for the 9 headlines at 9 tonight. Chandrayaan 3 blasts off to the moon, successfully enters orbit. The spacecraft will make a lunar landing in 40 days. Parts of northeast Delhi remain inundated. 3 children die after drowning in flood waters. Threat of waterborne diseases now looms. Prime Minister Modi, French President Macron hold bilateral talks in Paris. Big defense deals inked. Prime Minister attends Bastille Day celebrations as a guest of honor. Ajit Pawar becomes Finance Minister of Maharashtra. 2 ministries from the Shinde camp given to Ajit faction. They get some of the prime portfolios. Law Commission extends the last date for suggestions on One Nation, One Law, sets a new deadline of 28 July. Another setback for DMK Neta Senthil Balaji. Madras High Court validates ED custody, says money laundering not the only offence in the case. Namibian cheetah Suraj dies in the Kuno National Park, makes it the 8th big cat casualty in just 5 months. India's lead in the first test match against West Indies goes beyond 200. Debutant Yashasvi Jaiswal hits a brilliant 171. And in Hollywood's biggest shutdown since over 60 years, actors and screenwriters go on a historic strike for fairer profits and better working conditions. But our top story tonight, the floods in Delhi that have really set the city back. The water level of the Yamuna River, the good news, has decreased to 208.4 meters from yesterday's 208.66. But it's still over the danger mark, and the water has continued to enter several parts of northeast Delhi, including areas near the Supreme Court today. 3 people drowned while swimming in the flood waters. The Met Department has forecast rains in the hill states, Delhi and Haryana, over the weekend, which could mean it might take more time to clear out the waters. Which areas of Delhi are affected? What does this mean for the national capital? It's our top story again tonight.
Cars, rickshaws, motorbikes. These are now mere objects floating like fragile paper boats on the relentless currents that have taken over the streets of the national capital. The water level of the mighty Yamuna has decreased marginally to 208.4 meters, but it is still well above the danger mark. From Rajghat to Kashmiri Gate to Red Fort to Yamuna Bazaar, many parts of Delhi down on the knees for the second day straight.
The island kind of shape that you see behind me is Rajghat, and it is surrounded by water completely, and water flow has intensified in the last 24 hours. The Yamuna water level have slightly dipped. However, the encavements, the walls that were there to protect water level, water of the river from entering into the city, there are cracks there, and that is why the intensity of water flowing into the city has increased in the past 24 hours.
Floodwaters reached the entrance of the Supreme Court in central Delhi, while the busy ITO intersection got submerged as a regulator of the Delhi Irrigation and Flood Control Department suffered damage.
As a resident of the national capital, you understand how important ITO is. But unfortunately, for those who want to travel from Noida to Delhi or from Delhi to Noida, and in case you want to use the ITO, be prepared, you will have to spend at least a couple of extra minutes on the ITO. The reason is the entire side, both the sides are inundated. There are also chances of your vehicle getting stranded. Just in case you are on a two-wheeler, be extremely careful.
Several buses and trucks were left stranded in Kashmiri Gate, where city's biggest bus terminal is located, an area that is usually bustling with buses and passengers. And similar was the situation at the historic Red Fort. Normal life in Delhi has been thrown out of gear as rising waters of the Yamuna invaded homes, markets, thoroughfares, tourist spots. The next few days are critical. Even if Yamuna's level comes down, the water that has already entered the city may take time to clear out. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, a lot of people across the country believe the entire Delhi is underwater. Not true. Certain parts of Delhi, especially the north and the east part, what we call Yamuna Par in particular, has been the worst affected. Take a look at those areas. Civil Lines, Yamuna Bazaar, Kashmiri Gate, ISBT. Yes, the area around Red Fort, Rajghat, Majnu Ka Tila, Batla House, Sarita Vihar, Khajuri Khas, Sonia Vihar, Kirari, Kingsway Camp, GTB Nagar. Effectively, East and North Delhi has been affected. If you're living like me in South Delhi, you're not affected. Remember, Delhi itself has not seen rain. The water has flown in from Himachal through Haryana. The fact also is, politics has erupted over these floods in Delhi. The State Minister Saurabh Bhardwaj now complaining to the LG VK Saxena that officers did not respond to his calls for help last night when a barrage was seen to be collapsing. The LG rejected the charge. All of this happening in front of the media. The spat was over a Delhi Jal Board regulator, that collapsed last night, sending more river water in the city. Listen in.
सर एक निवेदन है छोटा सा सर रात को भी मैंने कई ऑफिसर से स्पेसिफिकली रिक्वेस्ट की कि एनडीआरएफ को बुलाइए बट सर वो माने नहीं रात को अब आई है एनडीआरएफ थैंक यू है बट सर रात को आ जाती तो बेहतर हो जाता सर अश्विनी जी को मैंने कहा ग्रुप पे लिखा सीएस साहब भी थे उस पर सर थोड़ी सी मदद हो जाती सर
मैं सौरभ जी ये कहना चाहूँगा कि ये समय नहीं है कि हम किसी के ऊपर ब्लेम करें या कुछ और टिप्पणी करें इस वक्त हमें टीम वर्क करने की ज़रूरत है कहने के लिए मैं भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें कह सकता हूँ लेकिन उसकी ज़रूरत नहीं है हमें इस वक्त ये देखना है कि हमारे लोगों को कोई तकलीफ नहीं हो और जो प्रॉब्लम हमारे सामने है हम उसको सॉल्व करें ये सारी चीज़ें बात को हो सकती हैं हमें इतना समझना चाहिए
And joining me now is one of our newsmakers tonight. He's right there in the field. Minister in the Delhi government, Saurabh Bhardwaj, is near the ITO barrage, which remember has become one of the spaces where water has accumulated. Saurabh Bhardwaj, you are there at that ITO barrage spot. It appears that the Delhi government seems to be now blaming the Haryana government for releasing excess water, for suggesting that some of these barrage gates are not working. I want to understand from you, are you passing the buck? Are you blaming Haryana for what should be your responsibility?
Rajeev, we are just putting some facts on the table and we did not do it on day one. We have been working day and night to help the citizens of Delhi. Now I think you also stay in Delhi and most of the viewers who stay in Delhi understand that Delhi is not facing rains for last 5 days. Delhi had its rain on 8th, around 153 mm of rains. On 9th we had rains in the evening and 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th we did not have any rain in Delhi. In spite of the fact, the levels of Yamuna have been continuously rising for last 5 days and they have risen to levels which are unprecedented. I just wanted to remind all your viewers that the Delhi faced its worst floods in the year 1978. And even in 1978, when lots of people were dead, property was devastated, the levels of Yamuna were like 207.49 meters. Today, the levels of Yamuna breached 208.60 meters, which is 1 meter beyond what we witnessed in 1978. That is like 45 years back. So you can imagine these levels are unprecedented. Nobody expected that Delhi will get so much of water just because
I take that point. Saurabh bhai, I take that point, but are you blaming this? How can you blame the Haryana government? Either there was no coordination between Delhi and Haryana. The fact is Hatnikund barrage is located in Haryana. You seem to be suggesting that Haryana released excess water, that 5 of the 32 gates of the ITO barrage in Delhi, which are run by the Haryana government, were jammed, causing the rise in water levels. But the fact is, the regulator at Indraprastha metro station collapsed because allegedly of poor condition. Now, how long is this blame game going to continue between Delhi and Haryana?
Rajdip ji, there is no blame game. I am just putting few more facts on the table. Another fact is, at Hatnikund, there are 3 streams which come out of Haryana. One is Western Canal, another is Eastern Canal, and the third one is the Yamuna. What we found today from various videos which have been shared by us from the neighbors is that the canal which comes to Delhi is full of water. The river which comes to Delhi is full of water. But the canal, the Eastern Canal, which goes to Saharanpur and UP, has no water. So I don't think it's just a coincidence that Haryana doesn't seem to send water into UP even through its canal. But it is very happy sending all the water into the canal of Delhi and into the Yamuna, which is flowing across Delhi. Now all these things are basically science. All the engineers who regulate the regulator at Hathnikund understand, and there are very basic formulas that if you release 3 lakh cubic water, this will make Yamuna's level this much. So these are predictions, and these predictions are with the Haryana government and are with the nodal agency, which is the Central Water Commission.
No, are you willing to put out? Are you willing to put out in the public domain? Are you willing to put out in the public domain all your communication with the Haryana government? You are making a very serious charge today. You are virtually claiming that at least part of the flooding was man-made. That this was done by the Haryana government to target an opposition government in Delhi.
Rajdeep ji, what I am saying is we can put out in public the log sheets of Hathnikund barrage, which will prove to the world that the Haryana government consciously did not send water into the canal which runs through UP, but they pushed water into the canals of Delhi and through the Yamuna river. Second, the barrage where I am sitting is an ITO barrage. Time and again we have written to Haryana government that you don't need this barrage. You don't have anything to do with this barrage. Please hand it over to the government of Delhi so that we can maintain it. Every time during the Chhath season, we have to request Haryana government to open 2 gates, 3 gates, modulate it. Why should we write to Haryana every time? We want to maintain it ourselves. It's a very simple thing.
No, you want to maintain it yourself, but did you, just a minute, you say you want to maintain the barrages. Okay, you want to maintain the barrages in ITO. For our viewers outside Delhi, ITO is in the heart of Delhi, and this is the area in and around leading up to Red Fort, which has been flooded in the last few days. But the question therefore is, you want to maintain it, Saurabh Bhardwaj, but isn't it a fact that the regulator at the Indraprastha metro station, which had not been used or maintained for several years, collapsed because of the poor condition, and this is what caused the flooding ITO, Red Fort and surrounding areas? Can you take responsibility for that or not?
Yes. So let me tell this. No, Rajdeep, I would invite you personally to come and visit the regulator. The regulator is almost new. The plates being used are not at all rusted. They are well maintained, well painted, and you can make out from the condition of the regulator that it was a very healthy regulator, well maintained, and we are maintaining 17 regulators. But you have to understand this, Rajdeep, that Haryana, this retention of water between Wazirabad and this ITO barrage, we are not creating a dam. We don't have a dam. It is a small, it is just a barrage, and these are just gates. If you are, so I'll just tell you few
how did the regulator collapse?
What is happening?
How did the regulator collapse if it is brand new?
So I am telling you, yes, I am telling you, 3 lakh cubic water is entering Delhi from Wazirabad, and 2.25 lakh cubic water is leaving from ITO. So you can understand that in Delhi, we are retaining a lot of water because these ITO barrage gates are closed. And obviously there are some more hindrances because, RRTS is constructing, few bridges across Okhla, and similarly a Barapula bridge is being constructed, which is also creating some obstructions. So what I am saying is Delhi is retaining a lot of water, and when you retain 75,000 cusecs, that means 75,000 cubic feet water per second, it is not a dam. You cannot retain it. So it puts lot of pressure on our regulators. And this regulator, which is nearest to ITO, could not bear this pressure because Delhi is not made. Delhi has never been designed to handle such kind of pressures coming from Yamuna. That's why, that regulator got breached.
Is it then a wake-up call? No, but then is it a wake-up call? Is it a wake-up call for you? Prevention, ensuring better coordination, are these all wake-up calls? Because the citizen has suffered. The citizen is not interested whether it was Haryana or whether it was controlled by Haryana or Delhi. The citizen wants to know, why is it that even when Delhi was not experiencing rainfall, the streets were flooded? Why did that water come in? Is there going to be now at least an attempt made to ensure this doesn't happen again?
I think, Rajdeep, this is very difficult to say because this is very unprecedented. You cannot create thousands of crores worth of regulators just because there can be rains after 45 years, and that too not in Delhi, that too somewhere in the northern India. You cannot put thousands of crores into that. So Delhi is designed for the optimal or the regular situations of rain and the regular situations of Yamuna. This unprecedented rain, you cannot blame the drainage system of Delhi, because if I'll just give you an example. Look, all the drainage system across the world runs on gravity. So drains basically flush all the storm water through gravity into the nearest water bodies, which can be Yamuna in case of Delhi. So drain is at this level and Yamuna is at this level, and the drain will drain out water into Yamuna like this. But when you have an unprecedented situation, when Yamuna is at 5 meter higher than its usual course, that means almost 2 stories high, then all these drains which are pushing out water into Yamuna cannot push water because Yamuna it is at a higher level. So now you need regulators which will basically stop or prevent water from entering from the river back into the city. And that's how, because there is so much of pressure on regulators, unprecedented.
I am presuming though I'm presuming though that the worst is over. Therefore, I will ask you, in your view, what is the biggest lesson that you have learned that you will ensure that next time round we are in a better place to deal with such a calamity?
Rajdeep, I must tell you, for last 3 days, NDRF is helping Delhi government. Even the engineers regiment of army has been helping Delhi government. And yesterday night at 10 o'clock, the news flashed on a lot of media channels on the Twitter that there is a breach of a regulator, and if it is not stopped, water will reach the top court of India, that is Supreme Court. Water will reach Luton's Delhi, and it is a very sensitive area. It is a pride of our country. So I reached that place at around 10 o'clock. I assessed the situation and I called up officials, and we have a special WhatsApp group just for flood control, which has the top IAS officers of Delhi. And I told them, Mr. Ashwini Kumar, we should call NDRF and we should take their help. At 11 o'clock, then Atishi tells, yes, if NDRF cannot come, we should call Army's engineer regiment. They are more skilled. They are more, they understand how to handle disasters. Our departments are not, they are not that expert. And the officials ignored it, avoided it. And
you're making a very serious charge again.
As a minister, I don't have these contact numbers.
You're making a serious charge again that officials did not respond to your emergency calls last night.
Yes, Rajdeep. And one of the district magistrates says on the WhatsApp group, which has the chief secretary, sir, I am at the location. My team is at the location. And I was at the location. I said, you are not at the location because I am at the location. So district magistrate is telling a lie on a WhatsApp group saying that she is at a location and she knows what situation is, although they did not know. None of the IAS officers were there in the night. I was there throughout the night, Rajdeep, with around 200 laborers and, a superintendent engineer. But had it been,
so I'm
if a minister is giving directions, and not just one minister, 2 ministers are giving directions in the event of calamity, in the event of emergency, they should be followed.
So therefore, I will ask you: do we have too many? Do we have too many authorities who don't trust? Do we have too many authorities who don't trust each other? Haryana government BJP ruled, Delhi government Aam Aadmi Party ruled, MCD ruled now by the Aam Aadmi Party, NDMC comes under the centre. We've got officers responding to the LG, officers responding to ministers. Do we need a single authority now for flood control?
I think Rajdeep, we can deal with the central government and we can deal with the Haryana government. But we as a government cannot deal with the situation because where officers are not answerable to the elected government, where officers are not accountable to the elected government, because LG is not accountable to the people of Delhi. It is me who is being asked question by Rajdeep Sardesai. Nobody asked these questions from Honorable LG. Nobody asked these questions from the Chief Secretary. I have to go back to you, Rajdeep, and ask for your vote. So they should be accountable to me, the government. That's what we need, This ordinance has basically, has created havoc in the administrative system of Delhi.
Okay, that's of course the other big issue. We will debate that in the days ahead, particularly when Parliament is set up. But Saurabh Bhardwaj, you've joined us from ground zero near the ITO barrage. As I said, I hope the situation gets better soon. But thank you so much for joining me here and giving us your side of the story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, while the politicians may do their blame game, the fact is life has come to a standstill for many Delhiites in the affected area. Several streets, houses as well as markets in the city remained waterlogged for the second straight day. Despite the water level of the Yamuna decreasing, there is no respite for these citizens. How are they coping with the flooded waters? Take a look at tonight's Get Real India story.
Yamuna's water levels are coming down. But several areas in the national capital remain heavily waterlogged, impairing normal life and traffic movement. As authorities scrambled to lead rescue and relief efforts, many Delhiites suffered.
भी आपको रेस्क्यू किया गया, लेकिन अंदर कितनी देर तक आप लोग फंसे रहे? आने की कोशिश किसी?
हम लोग फंसे रहे 24 घंटे।
हम 2 मंजिल पे बैठ गए थे। 2 मंजिल पे बैठ गए। और कितने समय तक ऐसे बैठे रहे? कल से पानी बढ़ गया तो हमने की मक्का बचाएं और बकरियां थी दूसरे की बात। खाना पानी कुछ सुविधा नहीं होगी? ना दीदी, कुछ नहीं। Water is 10 feet deep right behind me, where houses and bungalows have been submerged, farms and fields have been destroyed. Animals have drowned, many rescued by the locals here. But where there was no administration, police or NDRF, there is always India Today, ready to give you all the news and updates from submerged areas of Noida.
Water from the Yamuna infiltrated several homes, markets and tourist spots, throwing life out of gear for many.
कोई मदद के लिए आया?
नहीं,
कोई भी नहीं आया। कोई आया मुनादी हुई कि यहाँ से बाहर चले जाइए या सुरक्षित चले जाइए? आपने हेल्पलाइन नंबर पे कहीं कॉल करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं?
नहीं।
हम इनके पड़ोसी हैं, सामने हमारा घर है, हम इनको लेकर के हमने ऊपर हम लोग कर दिए इनको।
अच्छा, ये नीचे रहती थी?
हाँ, नीचे रहती थी, बहुत आनंद फानन में भगी हैं ये। इनके घर में 12 बजे रात को पानी घुस गया सर।
Residents of the Yamuna floodplains rushed to save their cattle, dogs and cats. Even horses were seen at the rescue camps, where they were brought from the now inundated river banks.
अंदर जो फंसी हुई गाय, उन्हें हम सब गए यहाँ से, गाय निकलवाई हैं, घोड़े हैं, बकरी हैं, आदमी हैं, उन्हें सबको लेकर आ रहे हैं हम।
ऐसा कभी देखा ही नहीं अपनी जिंदगी में, इतना पानी आएगा। दिल्ली में तो हम कमाने आया हूँ खाने के लिए, ऐसा तो सारे सामान हमारे खत्म हो गया।
Amid the flood havoc, a 3-day holiday has been declared for all Delhi schools. Many schools turned into temporary camps for flood victims. With light to moderate rainfall likely to occur in Delhi and adjoining areas for the next 5 days, situation could turn worse. With Mausami Singh and Milan Sharma in New Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
It's been a tough few days for several Delhiites as they waded through those waters. Let's turn from there to our other big story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron holding delegation-level talks at the Elysee Palace in Paris. Those talks are ongoing at the moment. In a short address a short while ago, Prime Minister Modi called France India's natural partner in the development story, stressed on areas from defense cooperation to civil nuclear deals to trade and education. Macron said both countries together can find solutions to global crises. Remember, the Prime Minister is attending the grand Bastille Day celebrations today, where an Indian tri-services contingent marched down the Champs-Élysées to the tune of Sare Jahan Se Acha, with Rafale jets lining up the sky. The Prime Minister has also got the Grand Cross of Legion of Honor, the highest honor of France.
Occupation commune d'un risque de fragmentation de la communauté internationale, en particulier dans le contexte de la guerre menée par la Russie en Ukraine. Nous avons le même objectif de chercher une paix durable et de répondre aux effets de cette guerre d'agression sur les pays les plus vulnérables, notamment en termes de sécurité alimentaire et de capacité de financement. C'étaient ces sujets qui étaient au cœur du nouveau pacte financier mondial que nous avons préparé ensemble et de l'agenda de Paris pour les peuples et la planète qui en est issu et que nous continuerons de porter.
आत्मनिर्भर भारत, उसमें फ्रांस एक अहम पार्टनर है। आज हम रक्षा के क्षेत्र में भारत में नई टेक्नोलॉजी के को प्रोडक्शन और को डेवलपमेंट पर बात करेंगे। सबमरीन हो या फिर नौसेना के जहाज, हम चाहते हैं कि मिलकर केवल अपनी ही नहीं, तीसरे मित्र देशों की जरूरतों को भी पूरा करने के लिए हम काम करें।
So what does this Indo-French partnership mean in real terms? Dr. Mohan Kumar is former India's ambassador to France. He joins us. Nicolas Barr is editor-in-chief, L'Echo Paris, France, and he was the journalist who interviewed Prime Minister Modi. I want to come to you, Dr. Kumar, first, because give us the big picture. We've seen a lot of bonhomie in this visit between India and France. Is this the special relationship that Prime Minister Modi now seems to have with the French president, or is this something that has been built up over the last 25 years that has in a way solidified this relationship?
Thank you very much for having me. I think the latter, if I may say so. It's taken 25 years for these two countries to establish a certain strategic partnership based on trust and confidence. I would make 3 points. Both France and India seek a multipolar world. Both believe in practicing strategic autonomy, and both follow an independent foreign policy. I think what has happened over time is that the two countries are facing an uncertain world. They have decided that they will seek a stable, predictable world to the extent they can. I would make 3 final points. These are two middle powers, both France and India, which are trying to make sense of a world which is on the verge of fragmentation. That's the first. Second, I think really that India can offer to France and EU a chance of de-risking from China by offering itself as an alternative. And last but not least, I think France has come to the conclusion that no global problem can be solved without India. I'm not saying India is capable of solving all problems, but I'm saying that it is not possible to tackle climate change. It is not possible to tackle food security. It is not possible to tackle public health. It is not possible to tackle terrorism without India. And therefore, France has taken a calculated bet on India. I would make one final point, which is that the fact that the Prime Minister's visit to France comes so close on the heels of a hugely successful visit to the United States is itself an ultimate expression of India's strategic autonomy.
Interesting viewpoints there, Dr. Kumar. I just want to come to Nicolas Barr at the moment. Nicolas Barr, you are the journalist who interviewed the Prime Minister. Give us a sense of how France sees Prime Minister Modi, because we've seen the Prime Minister being warmly received, the guest of honor getting the highest honor. At the same time, we've seen concerns in some quarters over what they call human rights violations, they call nationalism. We've seen it in the European Parliament raising issues in Strasbourg over Manipur. How is Prime Minister Modi perceived by the French establishment?
Yes, you're right. There have been some various reports on the issue you mentioned, criticizing some of the policies that have been conducted by Prime Minister Modi since he came to power since 2014. So yes, we have seen these criticisms. At the same time, I 100% agree with what the ambassador said. France considers that India is absolutely instrumental in helping solving the key global issues that we are facing. We all remember the role that India has played during the COP21 Paris Agreement. India was really instrumental, and it's thanks to this country that we were able to reach an agreement. And another thing is that we share the same, more or less the same views on strategic autonomy. That's something President Macron in particular has been insisting on, that France, among European countries, is the one that stresses more on the need to for Europe and for our country, for France, to reach that strategic autonomy. And that's an idea or line that India is also following. That so yes, there are questions on the current Indian leadership, but I mean what is more important probably is that we have to have this strategic dialogue, and that India is a critical partner in the world, and of course in the Asia Pacific region in particular, where France has strong interests as well.
In fact, the Prime Minister did mention, of course, the Asia Pacific region and India's role there. But Ambassador Kumar, you know, the Rafale aircraft agreement, both in 2016, now again, defense cooperation seems to be central to this agreement. There have been question marks. The opposition has raised it over the way the Rafale deal was signed in 2016, alleged favors being provided to a particular industrialist. But do you get a sense that defense cooperation in particular is in a sense central to this relationship because of the nature of the Indo-French cooperation at the moment over these aircraft deals?
I think the Franco-Indian relationship rests on a tripod, which is defense, security, and nuclear. Defense, nuclear, and space, So these three are the central elements of the relationship. Defense continues to be a central feature, I agree with you. But I think the more exciting things for me are, frankly, technologies, 6G, quantum computing, artificial intelligence, and I'm waiting for a roadmap by the two leaders, which will indicate. But to go back to defense, I think it's interesting that when I was ambassador, we conveyed to France that a buyer-seller relationship will not do, because India simply doesn't have the money to keep on buying expensive equipment. What I find interesting is that France has been quick to accept that message, and we are now talking in terms of co-design and co-production. Should that come about, that will indicate a paradigm shift in the defense relationship between India and France. Bear in mind that France has been the best strategic partner, which has transferred almost 100% technology to India, whether it is the Uragan engines, which were called Tufani, whether it is the Alouette engine, which was called Chetak, whether it is the Mirage, or now we are talking of Safran getting in touch with HAL and making engines. So it's been an incremental trajectory in which France has consistently, over time, stood by India and tried to take into account our needs in defense. Secondly, they have done it without an on-again, off-again relationship. Third, they have been sensitive to our feelings that, okay, if we don't want something to be supplied to Pakistan, France has taken that substantially into account. So I cannot think of a more trusted strategic partnership than the one between France and India.
So you're saying it's not a one-sided transactional relationship, am I correct?
You're absolutely right. It is not, because it used to be a buyer-seller relationship 6 years ago when I was ambassador. And even then there was substantial transfer of technology. But I am putting it to you that the key thing to observe in this visit is a paradigmatic shift in the attitude of France, that they will transfer substantial technology and try to make it in India, not just for India, but for third countries.
You know, Nicholas Barr, there's also the people-to-people contact. Very interestingly, yesterday the Prime Minister announced that UPI, our digital transactions, will be available if you travel to the Eiffel Tower and, you know, at the Eiffel Tower. My concern is Indians complain we don't get Schengen visas quickly enough, particularly post-COVID. But at a people-to-people level, do you see this relationship developing in various ways, or do you see it as primarily strategic and the rest will happen over time?
Well, of course, it's more strategic than the rest, but and I agree with what the ambassador said on defense. I would add one thing. The ambassador mentioned nuclear, and that's an area where the French, you know, on defense, they have been cooperating fully and with really a lot of transfers of technology and a lot of two-way cooperation. On nuclear, there's some frustration on the French side that we've been discussing the establishment of nuclear plants for like 15 years, and this project is, I mean, it's very difficult to move forward. Right. So we were expecting that with this visit, things would probably move forward. It's still difficult, and so that's one point where there's a little frustration. But on the rest, on defense in particular, it's amazing how the cooperation is going on. For example, Airbus will transfer the production of military aircrafts, you know, of transport aircraft that it's called C-295, sorry, and very soon these military aircraft will be manufactured in 100% in India. Mm-hmm. And there are several other examples like that with Dassault, of course, but also with another company called Safran.
Right.
So there's a really deep will on the French side to go ahead, transfer some technology and produce these equipments in India.
Right, Nicholas, I'm going to have to leave it there, but it's wonderful to know that the relationship now exists on multiple levels and has become stronger over time. I appreciate you joining us there, and also Ambassador Kumar, thank you very much for giving us, our viewers, a sense of why the French matter, the French connection. Okay, let's turn from there to the other big story of the day, because carrying a billion dreams, India has shot for the moon yet again. ISRO launched its third lunar mission. The Chandrayaan 3 lifted off at 2:35 p.m. with an orbiter lander and a rover from Sriharikota. It's expected to land on the moon around 23rd of August or 24th. If successful, India will join an exclusive club of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the moon. Take a look.
Plus 5 seconds. 2, 1, 0.
India shoots for the moon, carrying hopes of billions of Indians. Bahubali rocket LVM-3 rocket lifted off with Chandrayaan 3, aiming to land a rover on the moon's surface. The takeoff was picture perfect, every technical milestone achieved.
यह भीमकाय रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है.
And as Chandrayaan 3 separated from the rocket, scientists and space enthusiasts gathered to witness history and broke into applause.
We are excited, elated by the success of this because it was so much important for us to put it first in the orbit. Without that, there is no further travel to moon possible. So that way, it is really exciting for us.
The spacecraft will take about 2 weeks or more now to enter lunar orbit, aiming to be the first to land near little explored south pole of the moon. The journey is estimated to take more than 40 days, with the spacecraft potentially reaching the moon around August 23rd or 24th.
It was perfect, and all the propulsion stages worked very nicely, and the intended orbit also was achieved, and it was a perfect mission.
If ISRO pulls this mission off successfully, India will join an exclusive list of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the moon: US, former Soviet Union, and most recently, China.
It's a moment of glory for India, also a moment of glory for you and I, all of us who have been part of the history in the making. And while Team ISRO has done the entire country proud, India has reaffirmed its leading role as a global player.
India's second lunar mission was launched in July 2019, but it was only partially successful. Even today, its orbiter continues to circle and study the moon. But the lander rover failed, crash landing during touchdown. Chandrayaan 3 comes 13 years after the first moon mission in 2008. With Pramod Madhav and Nagarjun Dwarkanath in Sriharikota, Bureau Report, India Today.
Fingers crossed, India on the moon. Let's take a break. When we return, we'll turn to the man who's over the moon, India's latest cricket star. From selling pani puri on the Maidans of Mumbai, he is a Test Centurion debutant. We'll tell you the story of Yashasvi Jaiswal.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events. The true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter.
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
Of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth. On the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the Point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
From the miracle of 1983 to becoming the first-time host in 1987.
The More versus Miadad of 1992 to the Prasad versus Amir Sohail of 1996.
And then, of course, the high of 2011 with Mahendra Singh Dhoni finishing it off in style.
He finishes off in style. A magnificent strike into the crowd. India lift the World Cup after 28 years.
Relive India's journey at the Cricket World Cup from 1983 to the last edition in 2019 with me, Rajdeep Sardesai.
And me, Nikhil Nas. World Cup Rewind at these times on India Today.
Welcome back. Let's turn to tonight's Good News Today story, and it's a great Indian story. A few years ago, Yashasvi Jaiswal was selling pani puri on the Maidans of Mumbai to make his ends meet and staying in a tent. Yesterday, he became the second highest run scorer for India on his test debut. Yashasvi has beaten all the odds to become one of the finest talents in Indian cricket. His father wanted him to get a double ton, but he departed for a magnificent 171 today. This is a special journey to glory.
A century on debut for the boy whose story and challenges in life have been like no one else's. He's now the youngest Indian opener to score a century on test debut and the first one to do it overseas.
ऑफ कोर्स बहुत इमोशनल था मेरे लिए, मेरे परिवार के लिए, उन सभी लोगों के लिए जिन्होंने मुझे हर तरीके से मतलब सपोर्ट किया है, क्योंकि ये काफ़ी लंबी जर्नी रही है मेरी और मैं बस यही कोशिश मैं सभी को थैंक यू बोलना चाहता हूँ जिन्होंने मुझे किसी भी तरीके से मदद किया है हर जगह पे। और जस्ट यही है कि मैं अपने माँ बाप को डेडिकेट करना चाहूँगा कि उनका भी बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है मेरे लाइफ में।
His age, his trying circumstances and his family's weak financial position did not stop a young Yashasvi Jaiswal from dreaming big. He always dreamt of playing for India, and to follow that dream, he left his family and shifted to Mumbai. He moved in with his uncle, who had a small ramshackle in Worli, but soon had to look for another place to stay.
It's not easy to live in small house with 3-4 people. There were like, you have to work. If you don't work, you can't stay there. After when I went for the practice, I get tired. They said like, you can't do anything, you can't live here. Then I was like, where will I go?
He was asked to move out as there wasn't enough space to accommodate him. And just when life's challenges started to get harder for him, he found his guardian angel in Coach Jwala Singh.
Then one day I just met Jwala sir. That day my life has changed. What I cannot afford, my family cannot afford, but he just took me up and he did everything for me, and he's my God.
Yashasvi's father proudly runs a small paint shop in UP's Badohi as his 21-year-old son dazzles on the big stage.
यही कि हमारे बहुत खुशी है, हमारे पूरे परिवार में बहुत खुशी है और सूर्यावत जनपद खुश है, पूरी भदोही जिला खुश है, सब एक दूसरे को बधाइयाँ दे रहे हैं।
Yashasvi's struggles have started to reap dividends, and given his talent, the world is his oyster. Sports Bureau, India Today.
As I said, wonderful Indian story, and I hope that he goes from strength to strength. The other story, of course, that has made us happy this Friday night is what's happening in space with a new chapter in India's space odyssey. As I said earlier, the successful launch of Chandrayaan 3 has scripted history for India's moon mission. Fingers crossed as we caught this light moment between the teams, behind the team's spacecraft launch. We leave you with the visuals of our remarkable scientists who over the years have done India proud. Thanks for watching. Stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
Because of shortage of time. Yes, sir. I take this opportunity to thank all the mission executives because mission.
You did say that the guidance you have maintained on the revenue growth front and also on the EBIT margin front, it was the upper end 19% earlier. Now it's 18 to 19%. Are you being cautiously optimistic?
We are being realistic. So again,
the quarter one is at 17%. It was, by the way, the same 17% in the last year's June quarter as well. So we have seen this 17% levels before in the base. Our seasonality is that Q1 typically tends to be the lowest and Q3 tends to be the highest margins. That is driven by the software peaking in revenue and in margin terms in the December quarter. So there is that seasonality which we will see, and Q2 and Q4 are typically near the the margin band that we typically aim for and target. So based on all the actions, some of the actions we've announced yesterday, and I'll come to that, and there are actions taking place for pretty much every line item of the P&L. So based on those actions, we remain confident that we will be back to the 18 to 19%. The actions that we have already announced are on the wage increments. So for the senior staff, we have already mentioned that there will be no increments in this year. And for the junior staff, to whom we typically give the increments in the first quarter, in the second quarter, effective July, they have been deferred to October, and we will make the decision in October how much increments are rolled out for the junior staff. But for the senior staff, there are no increments.
I mean, we are literally on it. We've invested for the last years, but we are now accelerating. And so investments are starting now. A significant part, the biggest part of those investments are organic. So it's, investment that we are driving already now. I believe this month, as you know, we have shared this, we are going to train 100% of our employees, starting this month. When will it translate into revenue? It is already translating into revenue. We already have, as we speak today, dozens of programs around AI and generative AI.
Forecast now. Delhi, maximum 38 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 28 and minimum 25 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 27 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 26 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 33 and minimum 24 degrees.
from the miracle of 1983 to becoming the first-time host in 1987.
The More versus Miadad of 1992 to the Prasad versus Amir Sohail of 1996.
And then, of course, the high of 2011 with Mahendra Singh Dhoni finishing it off in style.
Finishes off in style. A magnificent strike into the crowd. India lift the World Cup after 28 years.
Relive India's journey at the Cricket World Cup from 1983 to the last edition in 2019 with me, Rajdeep Sardesai.
And me, Nikhil Nas. World Cup Rewind at these times on India Today.
Co-powered by the new Kia Seltos, the badass reborn. Extra safe polycab green wire.
Prime Minister Modi graces Bastille Day parade. Modi, Macron, Bonhomie on stage. IAF Rafales roar at Bastille Day fly past. Indian tri-contingent garnered attention. Peak prestige for Prime Minister Modi in Paris. Our top focus on India first.
Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast from Paris in France. I'm Gaurav Sawant. Today is Bastille Day and Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the guest of honor at the Bastille Day parade. The French President and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, their bonhomie, was there for all to see. Also on display was the march past by Indian Army, Navy and Air Force personnel down Champs-Élysées. This broadcast comes to you barely a couple of kilometers from Champs-Élysées, where a very impressive parade was held earlier this morning. There were 6,000 French armed forces personnel and school children. There were also about 249 Indian Army, Navy and Air Force personnel. But while everyone lauded the valor of the Indian Army braves right from the First World War till date, all eyes also were towards the skies to see the Rafales as part of the flypast. Rafales of the French Air Force and Rafales of the Indian Air Force. During the course of the next half hour, we will talk in greater detail about the bilateral meeting that's taking place even as we speak between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the French President Emmanuel Macron. This is at the Elysee Palace. We were reporting from there just a short while back. But before that, as always, let's start with the headlines at 10. Chandrayaan 3 blasts off to the moon, successfully enters orbit. The spacecraft will make a lunar landing in 40 days. Parts of northeast Delhi remain inundated. 3 children die after drowning in flood waters. Threat of waterborne diseases now loom large. Ajit Pawar becomes the finance minister of Maharashtra. 2 ministries from the Shinde camp given to the Ajit faction. Namibin cheetah Suraj dies in Kuno National Park. This makes it the 8th big cat casualty in 5 months. In Hollywood's biggest shutdown in the past 60 years, actors and screenwriters go on a historic strike for fairer profits. and better work conditions. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his the French President Emmanuel Macron, they're having a bilateral meeting at the Élysée Palace. Before that bilateral meeting, the President received the Prime Minister at the Élysée Palace, and the two made a statement. And this statement talks about the future roadmap of India-France strategic partnership in the field of space. They talked about building new aircraft, they've talked about building submarines, and not just building submarines and ships for India and France, but as Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, build submarines and ships for friendly countries. So this is taking the relationship forward, talking about building military hardware for friendly countries. An aspect that the Prime Minister and the French President also talked about was more people-to-people contact, more visa for Indian students. Those who complete their master's degree, they will be given a 5-year visa to stay in France, and this helps both India and France. Apart from that, there was conversation about protection of space-based assets, cooperation in space, cooperation in nuclear energy. Again, something where both countries want to move forward. Remember, this is the 25th year of the strategic partnership between India and France. The French president spoke of the valor of the Indian army. He spoke of the bravery of the Punjab regiment in the First World War in 1915, and of course the march past, the impressive march past that had taken place today. Before we move on in this bulletin, let's quickly listen in to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Let's also listen in to the French President Emmanuel Macron.
आत्मनिर्भर भारत, इसमें फ्रांस एक अहम पार्टनर है। आज हम रक्षा के क्षेत्र में भारत में नई टेक्नोलॉजी के को प्रोडक्शन और को डेवलपमेंट पर बात करेंगे। सबमरीन हो या फिर नौसेना के जहाज, हम चाहते हैं कि मिलकर केवल अपनी ही नहीं, तीसरे मित्र देशों की जरूरतों को भी पूरा करने के लिए हम काम करें। अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में भारत और फ्रांस का पुराना और गहरा सहयोग है। सैटेलाइट लॉन्च सर्विसेज, समुद्र और धरती के तापमान और वातावरण को मॉनिटर करने के लिए तृष्णा सैटेलाइट बनाने का काम शामिल है। स्पेस बेस्ड मैरीटाइम डोमेन अवेयरनेस जैसे क्षेत्रों में भी हम अपना सहयोग बढ़ा सकते हैं। रिन्यूएबल एनर्जी, ग्रीन हाइड्रोजन, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, सेमीकंडक्टर्स, साइबर, डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी जैसे अनेक क्षेत्रों में सहयोग बढ़ाने के लिए हम नए इनिशिएटिव्स की पहचान कर रहे हैं। हम दोनों देशों के स्टार्टअप और इनोवेशन इकोसिस्टम को आपस में जोड़ने पर बल दे रहे हैं।
Occupation commune d'un risque de fragmentation de la communauté internationale, en particulier dans le contexte de la guerre menée par la Russie en Ukraine. Nous avons le même objectif de chercher une paix durable et de répondre aux effets de cette guerre d'agression sur les pays les plus vulnérables, notamment en termes de sécurité alimentaire et de capacité de financement. C'étaient ces sujets qui étaient au cœur du nouveau pacte financier mondial que nous avons préparé ensemble et de l'agenda de Paris pour les peuples et la planète qui en est issu et que nous continuerons de porter. Occupation commune d'un risque de fragmentation de la communauté internationale, en particulier dans le contexte de la guerre menée par la Russie en Ukraine. Nous avons le même objectif de chercher une paix durable et de répondre aux effets de cette guerre d'agression sur les pays les plus vulnérables, notamment en termes de sécurité alimentaire et de capacité de financement. C'étaient ces sujets qui étaient au cœur du nouveau pacte financier mondial que nous avons préparé ensemble et de l'agenda de Paris pour les peuples et la planète qui en est issu et que nous continuerons de porter.
And in a short while from now, we will hear from the Foreign Secretary as he briefs media about the tangible outcomes of the bilateral meeting that is currently underway at the Élysée Palace. But let me now take you to what happened at Champs-Élysées earlier this morning. There were 6,000, it was like a victory parade, 6,000 French Army, Navy and Air Force personnel, men and women, a very large crowd of people. They'd also assembled on either side of that road to witness this magnificent parade. Right at the start of the parade were soldiers of the Punjab Regiment, followed by the Rajputana Rifles Regiment Band, followed by soldiers of the Indian Air Force and the Indian Navy. This was all about camaraderie of Indian and French soldiers, a camaraderie that's actually endured more than 100 years. It was in 1915 that the Indian Army soldiers had fought, 140,000 of them had fought here in France, in Europe, and 9,000 made the supreme sacrifice of their lives protecting liberty and fraternity and peace in France. So when the Indian Army Armed Forces soldiers marched past Champs-Élysées, people stood up and they clapped in gratitude. I was there. We bring you this report.
The resounding beats of pipes and drums. India's tri-services marched down the famous three-lined Champs-Élysées in Paris. France extends one of its most spectacular recognitions to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the guest of honor on the Bastille Day parade, an annual event that symbolically marks the birth of the modern French Republic back in 1789. The Prime Minister and the host, President Emmanuel Macron, watch Indian and French soldiers marching alongside in disciplined footsteps. India's 269-member tri-services contingent in all its splendor. Their steps echoing a centuries-old legacy, transcending borders and cultures. India's patriotism resonates through the French air. Bands played out the iconic Sare Jahan Se Achha tune. Prime Minister Modi took the salute. The hosts applauded the visual symphony of synchronized marching and captivating music. The Indian Army contingent, comprising of 77 personnel and 38 members of the band led by Captain Aman Jagtap. Commander Vrat Bhagel led the Indian Navy contingent. They move ahead with measured strides. Here comes the Indian Air Force contingent, led by squadron leader Sindhu Reddy. A rhythmic cadence flows out of their steps, a masterpiece of military precision. Dressed in their resplendent uniforms, adorned with medals and insignia, India's tri-services displayed their timeless elegance of tradition, seamlessly blending with the spirit of modernity in Europe's oldest and largest military parade. India's French-made Rafale jets soared in the French skies above. A stunning flypast over the Arc de Triomphe.
भारत फ्रांस की स्ट्रेटेजिक पार्टनरशिप के 25 साल के उत्सव का इससे बेहतर तरीका और क्या हो सकता है?
The two countries commemorate 25 years of their strategic partnership. A moment of profound significance, a moment of strengthened camaraderie. With Gaurav Sawant in Paris, Bureau Report, India Today.
And I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Neha Suryavanshi, who joins me for more on this story. Neha, you and I were reporting from Champs-Élysées earlier this morning, and this was quite a parade. Even a large number of French nationals who were there said this was a parade with a difference this year.
Exactly, Gaurav. The parade was fantastic. The feeling was fantabulous, and everyone was excited. And the pride which Indian diaspora and Indian people who are residing in Paris and all across the France, their excitement was next level. Someone has to be here to see the excitement which was going, which was running in the veins of Indians when they were seeing their troops marching shoulder to shoulder with French soldiers here in Champs-Élysées. And not only Indian soldiers, people from different countries came to Paris just to see Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Even yesterday when he addressed the Indian community at the community center where he addressed the Indian community, and also when Indian fighter jets, when they flew in the sky, and you should be, someone has to be here to see the cheer which echoes the ground, which echoes the full Champs-Élysées, and someone needs to be here. Everything was so fantastic, next to perfection.
Okay, stay with me for a moment as we play out some of the reports that were filed at the time of the parade, including my interaction with the general officer commanding the ground troops at this parade. He said that while he commanded many parades in the past, this time it was different. This time it was more exciting. This time there was a message that was being sent out. A message that was being sent out not just to the people of India and France, but to the world at large. Let's listen in. With me is General Sheshbov. He is the commanding general of this Bastille Day parade. General, many congratulations and all the best for the Bastille Day parade today.
Thank you. This is a great day for us, and it's a great day for Indian and French relationship. We are deeply proud and honored that you parade with us. Thank you.
Sir, you are leading this parade, and as part of this parade there are also soldiers of the Indian Army, the Navy, the Air Force, and a marching contingent of the Rajputana Rifles Regiment, the Punjab Regiment, which fought here in the First World War. They are very proud of this fact, but what goes through your heart this morning?
We are soldiers. We are all sharing the same values, the commitment to our different countries and commitment to our missions. And we are sharing the same values. The defense for freedom, defense for liberty, defense for the real deep and heartful values. So it's, for me, a real honor to have continue to train, because they are also, at least, they are very, very, very good and very impressive. But I'm very deeply honored to welcome them with us in this Bastille Day parade.
At this point of time, when you march past the saluting dais, you have the President of France, you have the Prime Minister of India, you have a billion-strong nation, India, that's watching this parade, and you are leading this parade. What are your thoughts, especially on India and France and their military-to-military level cooperation, sir?
Okay, it's very important for us, the strategic partnership that we have with India. And I have been honored to welcome officially your Prime Minister when he arrived yesterday in France. So it was a great moment for me as a general with our Prime Minister, Miss Bourne. For this parade, and knowing that India is watching the parade, I want all the Indian people to show all the smile on the faces, showing everybody that we are proud to parade together and we are defending the same values. And it means something for soldiers to parade for National Day. You are honored, we are honored, and it creates bonds and links together that will never be dissolved.
Tell me about your preparations for the parade today.
So we arrived like 1 week earlier, and we had a very long preparation by doing some rehearsals, and it took a long time to be perfect, so it's going to be all right.
So today the Prime Minister of India is the guest of honor at the Bastille Day parade. Indian Army, Navy and Air Force marching contingents will also be a part of this parade. What does that mean for you as an officer who will be a part of this parade?
We're very proud to have the Indian Army with us. First of all, because it's our oldest friend and partnership in the area of the Indo-Pacific area. So this is, we're very proud to march with them, and they are absolutely perfect when they go on a parade, because they're just, every time they're perfect.
Did you see the training of the Indian Army in these past several days? What were your experiences like interacting with the Indian Army?
We felt a little bit like jealous, because their uniform are very bright and shiny, their boots are perfect, and the alignment of their arms when they are going high, it's just crazy to see it. It's perfection.
There's another announcement that Prime Minister Narendra Modi made, which actually is making headlines more in India than in France. Imagine coming to France as a tourist, going to Eiffel Tower and not keeping euros in your pocket, but using your mobile phone and a UPI app to pay. Using UPI to pay. Now, the Prime Minister says India is in talks with France to make this happen. How soon will this happen? Well, that remains to be seen. But this would actually show that the currency, the cooperation is being taken altogether to a new level. There's another aspect which drew a lot of cheer and clapping from the Indian diaspora when the Prime Minister said those who complete their master's degree will get to stay in this country for another 5 years to pursue higher education or to work. And this is a win-win both for India and for France. We get you more in this report.
फ्रांस में भारत के यूपीआई के उपयोग को लेकर भी समझौता हो गया है.
The applause followed by another teaser from the Prime Minister.
अब मैं तो समझौता करके चला जाऊंगा, आगे बढ़ाने का काम आपका है.
There was still more, a gauntlet thrown for the NRIs in France.
साथियों, आने वाले दिनों में इसकी शुरुआत आईफेल टावर से की जाएगी. यानी अब भारतीय टूरिस्ट मोबाइल ऐप के जरिए आईफेल टावर में रुपये में भुगतान कर पाएगा.
The deal with France makes it the 6th country where UPI can be used instead of cash, debit or credit cards or forex cards. The others are Singapore, UAE, Oman, Bhutan and Nepal. Other countries like Malaysia, Saudi Arabia and UK and several in Southeast Asia allow remittances via UPI. NPCI is also in talks with other countries in North America, Europe and West Asia to extend UPI services. Although UPI in France will open up huge possibilities in the way Indians can spend, there will be no need to carry cash to spend. Just like international debit cards, users can make the UPI payments in the foreign currency from their Indian bank. An MOU was signed with French secure online payment system Lyra last year. The Prime Minister also had this challenge for the NRI community in France.
और मैं आपको भी चुनौती देता हूं कि अगली बार आप भारत में आए तो जेब में एक भी पैसा लिए बिना निकलिए घर से. खाली जेब. सिर्फ मोबाइल फोन पर यूपीआई ऐप को डाउनलोड करके रख लीजिए. आप पूरा हिंदुस्तान घूम करके आएंगे. एक नए पैसे कैश की जरूरत के बिना आप अपना गुजारा कर सकते हैं.
As per RBI data, UPI transactions stood at 139 trillion rupees in the last fiscal. This was about 73% of all non-cash transactions. According to a PwC report, daily transactions are likely to reach 1 billion by 2026-27, accounting for about 90% of all non-cash transactions. Another major announcement at the diaspora event was a decision by France to grant long-term 5-year visas for students pursuing a master's degree in the country. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
पिछली बार जब मैं फ्रांस आया था तब तय हुआ था कि फ्रांस में पढ़ने वाले भारतीय स्टूडेंट्स को 2 साल का पोस्ट स्टडी वर्क वीजा दिया जाएगा। अब ये भी निर्णय लिया गया है कि फ्रांस में मास्टर्स करने वाले भारतीयों को 5 साल का लॉन्ग टर्म पोस्ट स्टडी वीजा दिया जाएगा।
I once again want to bring in Neha into this conversation. Neha, both these aspects, very exciting. Coming to France with your mobile phone and using UPI app to make payment. I mean, it just sounds too good to be true. But what were the reactions that you picked up, both on UPI app and on long-term visa here?
The excitement was amazing. People were, they were not believing that this is about to happen. Even right now, I'm standing next to Eiffel Tower. And I can, I can literally see there are lots of Asian community, Indian people. They have their businesses open here. And when I talk to them about what's their reaction to it, they were shocked that this is true. And let me tell you one more thing for Indians, for Asians, it is anyways difficult to travel to European countries. They need Schengen visa, and Schengen visa requires a lots of process. So most of the people, they just drop their plan. They just find it really hard. So, this initiative is going to be a really big boost in tourism as well, because this is going to be to motivate them to travel to France, because it is going to ease, because people have to change their currency. They have to go through lots of paperwork to apply for Schengen visa, and it's already tiring. Imagining taking one burden off their shoulders, that they don't have to carry the cash, they don't have to do currency exchange. It saves a lots of time, it saves a lots of efforts, and it's eventually going to boost the tourism. It's eventually going to boost the tourism in France, and the reactions was extraordinary. Right now, next to the Eiffel Towers, there are lots of restaurants, and people, they are literally waiting for the day when it's actually going to happen. They are ready to welcome. And the next biggest announcement was the extension of post-study work visa. Even when I came as a student in London, I know the struggles which Indian students and other students face when it comes to sponsorships. So this decision, it's going to help a lot. The Indian students, they are going to brush up their skills. And even when I spoke to professors who studied Indian students, they mentioned the dedication of Indian students as compared to French students. They mentioned that the dedication of Indian students is on next level. So imagine, given 5 years, they will value the 5 years and they will turn it into a golden opportunity. If it comes from a student perspective, they invest a lot of money when they come to any other European countries.
Absolutely right. It's a golden opportunity. It's an opportunity that many students can now harness for the betterment for their future and, of course, both the countries. Neha, for the moment, many thanks for joining me. For the French and for the Indian soldiers, the festivities are still not over. The Prime Minister will now be moving to Louvre. This is where this world-famous museum is now being shut down for the public. There is a state banquet here. About 250 prominent Indians, Parisians, they've been invited for this state banquet at the Louvre. We'll be reporting from there. We'll get you more on that story. And as far as the Indian Army contingent is concerned, they are now moving to Neuve-Chapelle, where they will be felicitated for their coming to France and for their ancestors having saved the people and made the supreme sacrifice of their lives. 9,000 of them, they will be felicitated. That ceremony happens tomorrow. Well, that is all I have for you on this India Today special broadcast from Paris. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
Armed with facts, she takes the news by its horns.
Do you think the future of these students are not hampered?
Fierce, bold and direct, setting the tone for the biggest stories. From every corner and every angle. Expect nothing but the unfiltered truth.
News first, niceties later. Watch me, Nabila Jamal, on India Today.
What seems to have been a slowest start, one of the slowest starts to a fiscal year. How has the quarter been? Take us through some of the highlight numbers, Mr. Subramanian.
I agree, it's one of the slowest starts we have had in several years as a Q1. But then given the recessionary trends and the macroeconomic situation that everyone is talking about, we are pretty pleased with what we accomplished during the last 90 days. The order book of $10.2 billion on top of the $10 billion that we made in the previous quarter shows that we stay relevant, our offerings are well accepted in the market. And revenue came flat sequentially, while on a constant currency basis, we grew by 7% year on year. We completed the performance appraisal of all our employees, 600,000 of them. And we have completed the annual increment process effective 1st of April. That's again a big accomplishment for us. And overall, I think we have met with a lot of our customers.
Your dependence, I won't use the word over-dependence because the US is still the largest economy. On the US market, do you see it being offset?
US will continue to do well. And especially, US is investing heavily on innovation. They want to really work on the future of technology, like 2 nanometers and things like that. Semiconductor technology is something that they want to invest very heavily. And they also want to take the lead on the next G, which is the 6G technologies. And then there's a lot of effort that's going on in the North America. And I think, there is a lot of discussion that's happening between India and North America to see how we can collaborate on critical and emerging technologies of the future. It means that, look, it should give us really a good base to collaborate with the innovators and large corporations in North America.
What is the outlook as far as demand is concerned? And therefore, do you see a double-digit growth happening in the remaining quarters and for the full year?
There are segments in which, we have done well. I think, for us, manufacturing is looking good. Life sciences, healthcare is looking good. Our regional markets and platforms business are really have done well, over a year-on-year basis. So there are businesses and markets which are growing on double digits. But as a company, given the growth that we have seen in Q1, the double-digit growth for the whole year is something that we have to wait and watch. It looks a little difficult.
Hello and welcome. You're with us in Business Today. I'm Abha Bakaya. Here are the day's top stories. An exclusive conversation with the mega exclusive founder and MD of Sun Pharma, Dilip Shanghvi, tells BTTV about the company's growth plans and how smart investments are driving both short and long-term returns. No import duty concession to Tesla under discussion, says Revenue Secretary. This comes a day after reports of Tesla planning huge investments for an electric vehicle gigafactory in India. Markets hit a fresh high. Sensex zooms 502 points and Nifty up 151 points to end at new peaks. Positive global cues and hopes of a pause in rate hikes helps the rally. Investors wealthier by 3 lakh crore rupees today. They see digital payment system UPI spreads its wings to be soon available in France for transactions. Prime Minister Modi challenges NRIs to come to India and venture out without cash. World Health Organization seemingly dilutes its stance on aspartame, says moderate intake will not cause cancer, tells companies not to withdraw products with the artificial sweetener. From seeing profits plunge by 70% in FY18 to recording their highest ever profits of 8,474 crore rupees in FY23, Sun Pharma has made a roaring comeback. The stock price in the last 5 years has risen over 92%. What's behind the remarkable turnaround of India's largest pharma company? My colleague Neetu Chandra Sharma spoke with the MD of Sun Pharma, Dilip Shangvi, in this mega exclusive.
India's largest pharmaceutical company is making a strong comeback after a significant decline in profit in 2018. With an impressive turnaround, Sun Pharma has achieved its highest ever consolidated revenue of Rs 43,279 crores in the financial year 2023. I have a very special guest joining us today, Mr. Dilip Shangvi, the Managing Director of Sun Pharma. Remarkable turnaround, Mr. Shangvi. I would like to ask you how the company is experiencing growth and which areas you are currently focusing on.
Our focus in the business always has been that each of our business should focus on improving its performance over what it did last year. So if I look at our major businesses, that would be our business in India, our business, branded business in the US, generic business, both in US, also in Europe, then our business in emerging markets, then our business in Japan and other countries. So I am expecting each of this business to be able to do better than what they did last year. And I think it's only because we keep on improving consistently year after year that we will continue to grow faster than the industry. At the same point of time, we also make R&D investments in such a way that some of them produce short-term returns, some of them produce mid-term return. And when long-term returns start, I think it is when the step change in terms of company's growth happens. So we've been making large investment in specialty business over last 5 years. So we have kind of at a position where it will start contributing to profitability and future growth of the company in a much more meaningful way. So I think I see a brighter future for Sun as well as the other pharmaceutical companies.
Indian equities closed at record highs amid upbeat sentiment globally, fueled by hopes that a softening in U.S. inflation data will see the U.S. Fed pause its rate hikes. All sectoral indices ended in the green, with information technology up over 4%, trading at the highest level in 5 months. That's the IT index. For the day, the Sensex up over 500 points, back up above 66,000. Nifty up 150 points as well. Top gainers today: TCS, Infosys, Tech Mahindra, LTI Mindtree and HCL Tech. IT all the way, as you can see, they're 4 to 5% gains. Laggards in trade: HDFC Life, Power Grid and Dr. Reddy's, Ultratech Cement and Titan cooling off a touch. Nifty hitting a new record high of 19,570 in trade. My colleague Sakshi Batra spoke to Ruchit Jain of 5paisa to find out how far 21,000 is for the Nifty and what the best strategy is for investors at these record high levels.
Ruchit, I want to ask you, how far is 21,000 on the Nifty now?
Yeah, so I think markets would continue to achieve new milestones going ahead. What we are eyeing right now is 20,150. So ideally, as per technical analysis, whenever any stock or the index trades its all-time high, so it's a reciprocal retracement theory, which gives us the target projections or the next resistance projections. Now, 161.8% retracement of the previous correction that we saw in the Nifty, but the one which bottomed out around 16,800, that level is coming around 20,150. So I think as of now, for short-term perspective, maybe later half of this month or early next month, we would see 20,150 getting achieved. And yes, once that is surpassed, then 21,000 also would not be, it would not take much time.
So Ruchit, now tell us, how do investors make money at record high markets? What's the strategy that they should adopt right now?
So one should adopt a stock-specific strategy over here. See, all the markets, if you see the broader markets, most of the sectors have participated in this upmove. So I think auto is one name where we have continuously witnessed a good momentum of late. So I think this trend is likely to continue going ahead. Escorts, Ashok Leyland, then Tata Motors, these are some of the names which would continue this outperformance.
Another strong listing today, shares of Senco Gold listed at a premium of 36% on the NSE, with its share opening at 430 rupees against the issue price of 317 rupees. The stock touched a high of 444 before ending its first day of trading at 405 rupees. The 405 crore rupee public issue was subscribed 73 times. My colleague Sakshi Batra spoke to the CEO and the CFO of Senco, which is also the largest organized jewelry retailer in eastern India. Here's an excerpt.
Senco Gold, very well-known jewelry company in the eastern part of the country. You have a sizable customer base right there. The company has a vast retail network of 136 showrooms and store networks. However, if we see, a large part of it, 63% of the showrooms are still in West Bengal. So going forward, what is the expansion plan? How are you looking to expand your presence geographically?
So looking at the past, it speaks a lot about the way we will strategize for the future also. We are very conscious of the strengths that are there in the company, and we would like to continue to leverage on the strengths. So our focus for business growth will continue to be eastern part of the country. As you said that 63% is a particular state, which is West Bengal. 80% of our business comes from the eastern part of the country. Around 15% comes from the northern part of the country, and 5-6% comes from the western and the southern part. So to leverage the strain, to work on the economies of scale, the future will be very much focused on the growth in the eastern and the northern part of the country.
Okay. Mr. Banka, if you could take that question forward and detail for all our viewers, both in terms of the revenue mix. We got a little sense from Mr. Sen. He talked about 80% of your product mix is gold, whereas the rest of it is diamond largely. Geographical presence, he's talking about 80% in the eastern part. So if you could break it down further for all our viewers, going forward, what is your revenue mix going to be like? What is your geographical mix going to be like?
So see, if you look at our revenue mix, we see from 2-3 angles. One is the jewelry. We see our stud ratio, which is diamond jewelry. That is around 11%, around 85 is gold. Balance is silver, platinum, and so on. So as we move forward, we have to improve our gross margin and to deliver superior return. So that's why we are looking at improving our stud ratio. So if you see the average stud ratio in the market is around 15%, where the top player has got 25%. So we take inspiration from the best in the industry. That is our business model, because we believe in understanding the best and doing the best in the industry. So stud ratio is one which we will look forward to improve every year, at least by 100 basis points. That's one. But and as far as our business model from own and store and franchise is concerned, 65% of our revenue is from own store, 35% is from the franchisee.
Let's take a look at what else is making news in the corporate world. IT services major Wipro has decided to cap the variable pay at 80% for the first quarter of this financial. It's also decided to defer the annual salary hikes by 3 months to October to December instead of July to September. Similar steps are being taken at other IT service companies as well. HCL Tech CFO said the company would be deferring annual hikes made to a section of employees. Foxconn reportedly is in talks with TSMC and Japan's TMH Group to set up a semiconductor manufacturing unit in India. Both Foxconn and TSMC are Taiwan-based. It's likely that they'll soon finalize details of the partnership to manufacture both advanced and legacy node chips. The news comes just days after Foxconn called off its chip-making joint venture with Vedanta. BYD, the world's largest electric car maker, has proposed a $1 billion investment in India to establish manufacturing facilities for electric vehicles and batteries. The Chinese company is in a JV with Megha to build a full lineup of electric vehicles in the country. Indian tourists will soon be able to use their Bheem and other apps like Paytm and PhonePe to pay in France. Addressing the Indian diaspora at the iconic La Sienne Musicale in Paris, Prime Minister Narendra Modi announced that India has tied up with France on the use of UPI. Tourists will now be able to replace their debit and Forex cards with their UPI-installed handsets.
फ्रांस में भारत के यूपीआई के उपयोग को लेकर भी समझौता हो गया है.
The applause followed by another teaser from the Prime Minister.
अब मैं तो समझौता करके चला जाऊंगा, आगे बढ़ाने का काम आपका है.
There was still more, a gauntlet thrown for the NRIs in France.
साथियों, आने वाले दिनों में इसकी शुरुआत आईफेल टावर से की जाएगी. यानी अब भारतीय टूरिस्ट मोबाइल ऐप के जरिए आईफेल टावर में रुपये में भुगतान कर पाएगा.
The deal with France makes it the sixth country where UPI can be used instead of cash, debit or credit cards or Forex cards. The others are Singapore, UAE, Oman, Bhutan and Nepal. Other countries like Malaysia, Saudi Arabia and UK and several in Southeast Asia allow remittances via UPI. NPCI is also in talks with other countries in North America, Europe and West Asia to extend UPI services. Although UPI in France will open up huge possibilities in the way Indians can spend, there will be no need to carry cash to spend. Just like international debit cards, users can make the UPI payments in the foreign currency from their Indian bank. An MOU was signed with French secure online payment system Lyra last year. The Prime Minister also had this challenge for the NRI community in France.
और मैं आपको भी चुनौती देता हूं कि अगली बार आप भारत में आए तो जेब में एक भी पैसा लिए बिना निकलिए घर से. खाली जेब. सिर्फ मोबाइल फोन पर यूपीआई ऐप को डाउनलोड करके रख लीजिए. आप पूरा हिंदुस्तान घूम करके आएंगे. एक नए पैसे कैश की जरूरत के बिना आप अपना गुजारा कर सकते हैं.
As per RBI data, UPI transactions stood at 139 trillion rupees in the last fiscal. This was about 73% of all non-cash transactions. According to a PwC report, daily transactions are likely to reach 1 billion by 2026-27, accounting for about 90% of all non-cash transactions. Another major announcement at the diaspora event was a decision by France to grant long-term 5-year visas for students pursuing a master's degree in the country. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
Let's take a break. When we return, Musk's reply to Zuckerberg in the fight for the crown of the microblogging market.
Artificial intelligence, AI, an ever-evolving field is transforming the world we live in, unleashing wonders that were once unimaginable. Now, artificial intelligence is transforming lives in Lucknow in the field of medical science. This is an ortho-robo performing a knee replacement surgery, all made possible courtesy AI. And this is a game changer in Uttar Pradesh, as this AI-powered robo will now perform more ortho procedure in Lucknow's Apollo Medics.
This is a most advanced active robotic system. Active means कि हम इसमें सर्जिकल प्लानिंग करते हैं और वो सर्जिकल प्लानिंग सर्जन अपने एक्सपीरियंस के हिसाब से पेशेंट की बॉडी के हिसाब से करता है, तब उस सॉफ्टवेयर को सेव करके और रोबोट में कनेक्ट कर दिया जाता है.
how does this work? All the information is fed into the robo and then it works on its own, performing the surgery directly.
0.1 मिलीमीटर तक एक्यूरेट होता है और अगर आप मैनुअल सर्जरी और रोबोटिक सर्जरी की बात करें तो मैनुअल सर्जरी इज 70% एक्यूरेट, तो दिस इज 95% एक्यूरेट.
From revolutionizing industries to enhancing everyday life, AI has proven to be a catalyst for progress and innovation. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now.
Welcome back. The Finance Ministry is not considering any duty waivers for the US automaker Tesla. According to Revenue Secretary Sanjay Malhotra, a duty waiver is not under consideration by the government. As Business Today TV reported yesterday, Tesla is discussing an investment in India to produce 500,000 EVs a year. Tesla is reportedly considering India as an export base for the Indo-Pacific region and as a hedge to China. My colleague Karishma Sadani has more on these duty waivers, which have actively been pursued by Tesla.
Well, right, officials from the Ministry of Finance Revenue Department have in fact confirmed to Business Today Television that government right now is not considering or taking up any proposal on discussion of waiving off custom duty on Tesla or manufacturing of Tesla in India. In fact, government is more keen on the fact that Tesla should try and align with the Atmanirbhar Bharat or Make in India initiative by setting up a local manufacturing plant or tying up with one of the Indian companies in order to find roadways. Tesla has been complaining of the higher import duties and has been in discussion with the Indian government on a way out. In fact, the Tesla chief, that is Elon Musk, also met Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his visit to the United States of America last month, and they also discussed about the future of investments in India, especially in terms of the electric vehicles. Tesla is in conversation with the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, and they are trying to find a way out to make inroads for the company and also in a way that will stand justified for the Indian market.
Thanks, Karishma. And one of the biggest announcements since Elon Musk's takeover, Twitter has decided to share its profits with verified creators. The microblogging platform will now pay creators with a share of the ad revenue earned from ads served in the replies to their posts. Users who subscribe to Twitter Blue and have earned more than 5 million tweet impressions each month for the last 3 months are eligible to join. According to owner Elon Musk, the first round of creator payouts will total $5 million. Danny DeCruz, assistant editor, Business Today, joins us with more on this. Danny, take us through this new revenue system for creators. How will it work?
So yes, Twitter is introducing the new revenue system for creators, which is definitely good news for all Twitter enthusiasts. The tweets that get a lot of replies will benefit the most out of it. In a sense, the revenue generated by the ads that are shown in the replies of tweets will be shared with creators. But the precise allocation is yet to be determined. Some creators seem to have already earned massive sums of money. One such creator, Brian Krasenstein, claims to have earned almost $25,000 from Twitter, which is roughly rupees 20.5 lakh.
Who is eligible to earn money on Twitter, Danny?
Firstly, you'll need to be a Twitter Blue subscriber. Secondly, you'll have to be famous. Brian Krasenstein has over 7.5 lakh followers on his account. And that's not it. You should have at least 5 million impressions each month since the past 3 months to be eligible for these earnings. Also, this new feature is available in countries that support the Stripe payment system. And luckily, India is one of them.
All right, Danny, thanks so much for joining us with that. While retail prices spiked last month, wholesale prices continued their fall in June. The wholesale price inflation, WPI, fell to a near 8-year low of minus 4.12%, mainly on account of the high base effect. June marked the third straight month when the WPI print turned deflationary. Last year, in the same period, WPI was galloping at 16.23%. Overall, wholesale food prices were up 1.3% in June, with cereals, pulses, milk leading the price rise. Vegetable and potato prices were sharply down. In fact, tomato prices, which are up this month, were down 55% in June. Meanwhile, exports have plunged a massive 22% in June, according to trade data released by the Commerce Ministry. June exports were down 22% to $32.9 billion. Imports also declined 17% to $53 billion. This included a 19% dip in petroleum exports. A statement from the Commerce Ministry blamed the decline in exports on major global economic slowdown as well as inflation. The ministry said the dip was not due to a dip in volume, but due to easing crude prices. Drinking Diet Coke and chewing gum containing aspartame has now been deemed safe, but in moderate quantities. The World Health Organization today declared aspartame as a possible carcinogen, but said it remains safe to consume at already agreed levels. Aspartame is used as an artificial sweetener in a large number of products by the food processing industry.
The warning by two groups linked to the World Health Organization came earlier today. It was a warning that aspartame, which is one of the world's most popular sweeteners used in products from Coca-Cola Diet, sodas to Mars Extra chewing gum, is carcinogenic. The organization said it did not have convincing evidence of harm caused by aspartame and continued to recommend that people keep their consumption levels of aspartame below 40 milligram a day, a level it had set 32 years ago.
Working group classified aspartame as possibly carcinogenic to humans, that is group 2B, based on limited evidence for cancer in humans. This was specifically for hepatocellular carcinoma, which is a type of liver cancer. It shouldn't really be taken as a direct statement that indicates that there is a known cancer hazard from consuming aspartame.
In its first declaration on the addictive announced early on Friday, the International Agency for Research on Cancer based in Lyon, France, said aspartame was a possible carcinogen. That classification means there is limited evidence a substance can cause cancer. The WHO, in fact, suggested consumers weighing beverage choices consider neither aspartame nor sweetener.
If consumers are faced with the decision of whether to take cola with sweeteners or one with sugar, I think there should be a third option considered, which is to drink water instead and to limit the consumption of sweetened products altogether. So definitely we're not advising companies to withdraw products, nor we are advising consumers to stop consuming altogether. We're just advising for a bit of moderation.
Meanwhile, some researchers are pushing stevia as an alternative for aspartame. Stevia is a sugar substitute made from the leaves of the stevia plant. It's about 100 to 300 times sweeter than sugar, but has no carbohydrates, calories, or artificial ingredients. Some people complain that it leaves a bitter taste and even taste like menthol.
When it comes to beverages, which are by and large the major source of aspartame in the US, water really is your best beverage choice. Unsweetened beverages like coffee and tea can also be good options, but really water is your best choice. So if you currently drink diet soda, switch to water or unsweetened drinks, or worst comes to worst, drink sweetened with stevia if you want something that has a sweet taste. That's a safer alternative to aspartame in our opinion.
Several scientists not associated with the reviews said the evidence linking aspartame to cancer is weak. Food and Beverage Industry Association said the decisions showed aspartame was safe and a good option for people wanting to reduce sugar in their diets. The WHO said that existing consumption levels meant, for example, that a person weighing 60 to 70 kg would have to drink more than 9 to 14 cans of soda daily to breach the limit, based on the average aspartame content in the beverages, around 10 times what most people consume. Bureau Report, Business Today Television.
That's all from us on the show tonight. Thanks so much for watching.
This man with a bone and skull in hand is Joker Felix, a man who is now behind bars for a gruesome double murder in Bengaluru. He stabbed two men to death mercilessly in their office, all over a petty professional rivalry. This is a tale of two rival companies, turning into a tale of two murders. The victims, Phanindra Subramania and Vinu Kumar, the MD and CEO of their company Aeronix, went to work on Tuesday and never came home. According to the cops, at 4 p.m. on Tuesday, Joker Felix and two of his aides entered the Aeronix office and entered the MD Phanindra's room. They then attacked him, with Felix slashing him with a sword. Seeing the shocking crime, the CEO Vinu Kumar intervened but was then attacked with a knife that the accused were carrying with them. The three then escaped from the back door. What was the reason for this merciless display of violence? Murder by knife is personal. They wanted this to hurt. According to police, Joker Felix previously worked with murder victims Phanindra and Vinu. The victims left and started their own organization and reportedly took most of the customers and employees with them, angering Felix. Joker Felix and accomplices Vinay Reddy and Santosh Srinivasa are now in police custody. Pride, vengeance and professional rivalry cost these two men their lives. And the actions of this rather unstable internet influencer has landed him behind bars. With Anaga Keshav, Bureau Report, India Today.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 38 and minimum 27 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 28 and minimum 25 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 34 and minimum 27 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 27 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 26 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 33 and minimum 24 degrees.
Hello and welcome. You're watching India Today. I'm Akshita Anandagopal, and over the next half hour, we're putting the focus on India's moon mission on Chandrayaan 3. Carrying a billion dreams, India has shot for the moon. ISRO launched its third lunar mission, Chandrayaan 3, which took off from Sriharikota at 2:35 p.m. on Friday afternoon, carrying a lander and a rover. In the next 40 days, it will touch down at the south pole of the moon.
3, 2, 1, 0.
India shoots for the moon, carrying hopes of billions of Indians. Bahubali rocket LVM-3 rocket lifted off with Chandrayaan 3, aiming to land a rover on the moon's surface. The takeoff was picture perfect, every technical milestone achieved.
यह भीम का रॉकेट आसमान को चीरते हुए अपनी भयानक दहाड़ से चारों ओर कंपन उत्पन्न कर रहा है.
And as Chandrayaan 3 separated from the rocket, scientists and space enthusiasts gathered to witness history and broke into applause.
We are excited, elated by the success of this because it was so much important for us to put it first in the orbit. Without that, there is no further travel to moon possible. So that way, it is really exciting for us.
The spacecraft will take about 2 weeks or more now to enter lunar orbit. aiming to be the first to land near little explored South Pole of the Moon. The journey is estimated to take more than 40 days, with the spacecraft potentially reaching the Moon around August 23rd or 24th.
It was perfect, and all the propulsion stages worked very nicely, and the intended orbit also was achieved, and it was a perfect mission.
If ISRO pulls this mission off successfully, India will join an exclusive list of just 3 other countries that have managed a soft landing on the Moon: US, former Soviet Union, and most recently China.
It's a moment of glory for India, also a moment of glory for you and I, all of us who have been part of the history in the making. And while Team ISRO has done the entire country proud, India has reaffirmed its leading role as a global player.
India's second lunar mission was launched in July 2019, but it was only partially successful. Even today, its orbiter continues to circle and study the Moon. But the lander rover failed, crash landing during touchdown. Chandrayaan 3 comes 13 years after the first Moon mission in 2008.
So the launch has been successful, and 1 billion Indians are left so very proud with our ISRO heroes. Chandrayaan 3, more proof of what ISRO can really achieve. As the country rejoiced, the world joined in also with applause for what India is attempting right now.
3, 2, 1, 0. Plus 5 seconds.
It was a successful takeoff. Indian scientists were proud, so were their family members.
भारत माता की जय। जैसे एक आम देशवासी अपनी शुभकामनाएं देता है और उम्मीद रखता है कि सफल हो मिशन, वैसे ही हम भी कर रहे हैं। हमारी शुभकामनाएं टीम को, इसरो टीम को, और मिशन सफल हो यही उम्मीद करते हैं।
The community of Indian astro-scientists were lauded by Indians from all walks of life. Prime Minister Modi led the way, tweeting within seconds of the successful takeoff. Soon others followed, recording the success story of ISRO, reflecting the proud moment of carrying the dream, pride and belief of 1.4 billion Indians.
The first phase is over. I think the system got into its elliptical orbit. Now it's time for us to wait, of course, to congratulate each other, and then wait for the 43 days.
प्रज्वलन और सफलतापूर्ण उत्थापन LVM.
Chandrayaan 3 is a big milestone for India, and the world is watching.
What an amazing launch, and it's good to see LMV3 executing flawlessly to put the spacecraft on the target orbit precisely around Earth and heading towards the Moon.
चंद्रयान 3 को प्रमोशन की कक्षा प्राप्त कर ली गई है।
As Chandrayaan 3 orbits Earth before entering the Moon's orbit, India prays for its august success, soon landing on lunar South Pole.
The launch of Chandrayaan 3, the mission itself, is a significant and huge milestone for India's space program. We decoded our next report, how this mission works, what happens over the next 40 days, and what the objectives of this mission are.
Behind us is a model of the rocket GSLV Mk2, and the LV-M3 will resemble this model only. And on either side of this rocket, the columns you see, those are S200 solid state boosters, and in the center part where it is written GSLV, that is the liquid stage, and on top of it we will have the cryogenic engine C25. Over that particular pod with the Indian national flag, that is a heat shield which will be carrying Chandrayaan 3. This is a module which will have a propulsion module, a lander module, and the rover.
The launch vehicle will first orbit Earth before entering Moon orbit. At the final lunar 100-kilometer circular polar orbit, the propulsion module carrying the launch module with the lander and rover will be launched through vehicle injection. Then the separation of the launch module from the propulsion module will take place. The propulsion module this time also has one scientific payload as a value addition. It will become operational post-separation of the lander module. The propulsion module, equipped with spectropolarimetry of habitable planet Earth or SHAPE, will then work for future discoveries of smaller planets in reflected light. It would also allow scientists to probe into a variety of exoplanets which would qualify for habitability or for presence of life. The lander module in the meantime will orbit closer to the lunar south pole.
The main aspect of this this mission is to do a soft landing on the lunar surface, and this is the second attempt of ISRO. Here also ISRO has made it very clear that this time they are going for a failure-based model. They are calling this a failure-based model because whatever information that was gathered from Chandrayaan-2 has been incorporated to it. The issues with Chandrayaan-2 was called as error accumulation, which led to crash landing. It is not a failure. So all the lander module has to do is take a picture, compare it with the data that has been fed already into it, and it has only to do final corrections to avoid any object that is 30 centimeters or bigger for a soft landing. ISRO claims that as all other parameters have been successful, it is only going for a soft landing, post which releasing the rover on the lunar surface.
Soft landing of the lander happens when it lands intact on the lunar surface that prevents damage to the spacecraft. This will ensure survivability of instruments on board the spacecraft. This has so far been successfully achieved by only 3 other countries: USA, Russia and China.
And the very important aspect is that ISRO this time has given the lander a lot of space of deciding on its own, because the Chandrayaan-2 was designed